Hey, 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 and welcome back today to the cafe. Good to see you guys again. Thank you guys for joining me. For those of you that joined us for the hearing, thank you, and I'm sorry. I'll explain that once we get rolling. It is great to be back with you guys today. Thank you for joining me. We're back in Idaho, guys, and oh boy, looks like somebody's in trouble. Let's talk about it, guys. Please make sure to hit that like button on your way in. Share this out. Tell everybody what we're talking about. Bring them on in with you. And that being said, you know where we're going. Hello, governors. Welcome back. Good to see you. Thank you guys for being here again with us. I do appreciate you all so very much. And yes, y'all, we're back in Idaho. There was a pretrial conference hearing today. It's fairly boring. But Judge Hippler basically put out how he wants things done. And then thereafter, a couple documents dropped. And oh my goodness, somebody's in some trouble, in my opinion. Somebody's are in some trouble. It's going to be an interesting conversation we're going to get into. Of course, I will open the panel up for anybody that wants to join me to discuss this situation and voice their feelings, opinions, and thoughts on this as well. So, yeah, guys, we're going to be getting into that for sure. Quite an interesting situation, I'll say that much for sure. And we can discuss whatever else in regards to the case today if want or need be. So come on in, hit that button that says like on it if you like me. Even if you don't, just pretend like you do and hit that button anyway, please. And let's get this up in some algorithm somewhere if we can so that YouTube can float it around to everybody else to see it. Please and thank you. And it answers a question to you guys that I wondered when we started seeing the world tour, as I like to call it, and all this other misinformation being thrown out. Then Dateline dropped all their bullshit. Is anybody going to say anything about it, or are they just going to let it keep happening? Well, it looks like somebody got a little bit of a spanking, for lack of better terms. We shall see. We shall talk about it. We can talk about there's certain things that were talked about during the hearing today as well. My apologies for everybody that was joining me during the hearing. Luckily, we got through it and my internet dropped off. So my apologies for ending it that way, guys. I never would do that on purpose. Thank you for those of you that were there for joining us this morning and for understanding. I appreciate you all very much. But I would think nothing less because this community is amazing and we love you all. Thank you to the Blue Crew for everything you did for this morning and for being here tonight. I appreciate you guys so very much for joining us today and night. So I hope you all are having an amazing day. I really do appreciate you all so very much. Let's see who we got in here so far. 78 peeps in the house, 42 likes. Hit that button, guys. Let's make a match. Just pretend like you like me for a little while. Come on, guys. We can do that. Please and thank you. Miss Jody Walters in the house tonight. Good to see you. Happy Hounds. Welcome back. Great to see you. Angel D from Down Under. Good to see you. Miss Angel D. Miss Rowena, welcome back. Tandy's in the house. Miss Seahawks fan. And Moonlit Baby, welcome back. Great to see you tonight. Tomboy Charm flying in on her bird. Good to see you. SR. Beep, 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 beep. And Miss Tara. Welcome back, Miss Tara. Good to see you tonight. WB's in the house. Good to see you, WB. Miss Wisdom Speaks. Always happy to see you. Fizzy Cake is fizzing back in with us again. Good to see you, Fizzy. Scott Metalhead. Welcome back, brother. Great to see you tonight. Let me see here. Hello, Governor. Angel D, we're talking about that. Yes. T2014, good to see you and welcome back. Thank you, Wisdom. Please make sure to hit the like button. Please make sure to share this out. And please make sure to find a nice, comfortable seat. And I hope you enjoy yourselves as you're here tonight. We appreciate you. Mountain Mama, welcome back to you. GM 5637, great to see you tonight. Miss Terry Martin, welcome back, neighbor. Good to see you. Good trouble. Better than bad trouble. Great to see you tonight. Miss Brady B, the OG's in the house. Good to see you, Brady. Thank you for being here. Here. Yes, yes, yes. Let's see. I'm making sure I don't miss anybody. I don't think I did. It keeps jumping. Dang it, y'all. Miss Christina. I think Miss Christina was the first one in here. Welcome, Miss Christina. Welcome back. Good to see you. Ellison Lee. Hello to you and welcome back, Miss Teresa. Great to see you as well. Come on in, everybody. Cougar 1970s in the house. Good to see you, Cougar. Thank you for joining us again. I think I got almost everybody. Is Eddie in the house? I didn't see Eddie yet. I hoped Eddie was here. I was hoping Eddie might join me up here tonight. Cat K, welcome back to you, ma'am. Why don't I see Eddie? So everybody's saying hi to him, but I don't see him. So that means he's got to be here somewhere. So good to see you, Eddie. Welcome back to you, bud. Thank you for helping to end the show earlier. My internet dropped. I appreciate that, brother, very much. William Doyle, welcome back, my friend. Great to see you today. There he is, one made nuts in the house. Good to see you, buddy. Would you two quit? Good Lord, wrestling all over the place. And Miss Alicia J, always happy to see you. Thank you for being here. There is Eddie right there. Welcome back, bro. It's late. I wish Jesse could pop in here too. I'd be curious to hear his thoughts about this. So come on in, guys. And even if you're not in the chat talking, it's okay. We don't care. We're still grateful to have you here and appreciate you very much. If you're just out there lurking, as they say, well, we are grateful to you and appreciate you very much. 87 people in the house, 51 likes. Come on, guys. Just hit that button real quick. Only takes a second. You don't have to hit it. You can flick it, punch it, smack it, quit it, lick it, whatever you got to do. Just make sure you hit it. Please and thank you. Eddie Spaghetti. Yeah, I mean, how many times you've heard that? Come on in, everybody. Come on in. And again, share this out if you will. That's exactly what they do, Tara. Every time. Never fails. Knock it off. They don't even listen. They don't even care. They're worse than kids. There's Miss Cassie Sassy. Miss Sassy Cassie. I am me. Welcome back to you. The sassy Miss Cassie. 92 peeps in the house. 55 likes. I know you guys can. You're doing it on purpose now. You're doing it on purpose. Come on. Thank you, Cass. Oh, I could be like, what's his name? I am not starting my show until you, whatever he does. I can't remember what it is that he send a super chat or hit like or something. He's always said that for, it's so weird. Happy Hounds. Good to see you. You holding out on me. Okay. Whatever. I guess I'll just sit here then. Where's Angel D? Vinsanity is in the house. What's going on, brother? Good to see you tonight. Great to have you here. Speaking of that, holding out, You guys, if you are interested in becoming a meatball, we got new pots in here. Mama Bear and Miss SRB went and picked them out specifically for all these new meatballs. You can click the links that the mods drop in here. But also, because we have so many generous people in here, guys, there's a $sign at the bottom of your chat. Click that. Make sure you can receive gifts inside there. And every now and again, there are some things that are dropped for memberships that are handed out to people here and there. Okay, I can't tell you it's going to happen today or tomorrow or whatever, but it just does happen. But if you don't have that enabled, you cannot receive them. So make sure that's enabled, guys. Please and thank you. An interrupting cow. Happy said, give me a break. I'm heading towards 80. I have to amuse myself somehow. And access spaghetti. I absolutely agree with you, Happy. I love it. I love it. That's awesome. Okay, Angel's mooing in here. Allison Lee. Angel D. Angel D from down under. That's not a knife. This is a knife. I love Australia. Boys, Lady Bob. Hello and welcome. Great to see you. And we'll get there one day. Lost my membership this month. You don't. It doesn't matter, Brady. You know better than that. You don't even need to talk about it, kid. It is all good. Miss Sherry's back in the house. Heather Fitzgerald. Hello, Miss Heather. Thank you for joining us. Doc, welcome back. 99 peeps, 63 likes. We're getting there. Slowly, but we're getting there. Aussies are going to take over. I'll take it. I'll take it, Tara. Chief is in the house. Welcome, Chief. Gave me extra. I did, SRV, because when I got all wound up earlier and irritated about my internet, I started drinking coffee again. So, yes. Deidre, welcome back. And again, Miss Deidre, welcome to the sauce. Recently became a member. That's awesome. Oi, oi, oi. I love Australia. I'd love if they did take over. If I had to leave the country, that is where I would go. I would go to Australia. Perth is where I would head. Beautiful there. Jacob Monster's in the house. Welcome, Jacob Monster. $9.99 has a question already. Says, Dago, with the defense saying there is alternate perpetrators, could they also announce an arrest and could the tip they got been from BK himself? Wow, that's an interesting question, Jacob. That's a good question. I don't know if the tip could be from him. It could be, I guess. We do, Scott. And yes, you absolutely can join the Discord. If we could drop the information on how to jump into Discord, please and thank you. Satiris is back in the house. Hello. We've missed you. It's great to see you tonight. I didn't know you were in Australia too, Tara. I knew Angel was. I have a friend that lives in Perth. I have a friend that lives in, where does Lisa live? Victoria, too. Perth is gorgeous. I love it there. Well, the pictures I've seen, I should say. I still haven't, but would love to try some Vegemite. I've heard about it, but I haven't tried it yet. But I want to. I'm in Melbourne. That's awesome, Angel. I love that you guys are here. I do. And yes, you can absolutely. Scott, right there on screen is the information on how to get in there. Love to have you in there, brother. As many as we can get, because I do music nights, and we're going to try to do music nights in the Discord soon, too. So, Carolyn McCosker, welcome from Queensland. Hello, that's awesome. Heather. I'm reading up, Tomboy. What am I reading up for? Nothing shots me anywhere regarding this case. Total effing shit show. Amen to that one, I am me. That inference that Hitler made about the knife today kind of pissed me off. You know how many creators are going to run with? Oh, yeah. 100%. It'll be out by tonight, and it'll start rolling tomorrow. 100%. I agree with you, Tomboy. Hell, we got enough Aussies in here, and they get in the Discord. We can start our own down under section in the Discord. I think that'd be awesome. Oh, well, no storms tonight. Miss Terry said, Dago, come on, you live in Ohio, the state everyone wants to live. Yeah, right. Yeah, we have that state. Agreed, Terry. If it true from Dateline that Maddie was the target, why were the perps so mad with Ethan that happened? Is like, I don't know, and I don't believe most of that Dateline guys. Me and the mods finally watched Dateline last night. It was worse than I thought it was going to be. The Dateline episode was a joke. It was a shit show. There was absolute misinformation put out, I think on purpose, of course, and it was based off of Blum's book. The blumming idiot that he is put that book out, and most of it, I do believe, came from his book. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. Well, guess what, folks? We're going to talk about that. Yeah, we watched it in Discord last night, Bran. We were sitting here thinking, we were looking at some other videos and talking about it, and SRB made a good point and said, considering that we talk about it, we're going to be talking about it, we might as well see it and know everything in it. Her and Alicia both kind of pushed the theory and said, well, yeah. So we watched it. I found it. We got it. We're good. And it was kind of, it was a joke. It really was a joke. Yes, there's a special prosecutor being brought. We're going to talk about some of that stuff from the hearing today, too. That's all right, Brandy. I understand, hon. I'm glad you're feeling better today. Yeah, Vin, that's something we're going to talk about too. I'm a little irritated about that too. You talking about Keith? It was full of shit. It absolutely was full of shit. And it was based on shit, in my opinion. Just saying. So welcome back, Miss Tandy. All right, we got 118 peeps in the house with 72 likes. What is going on, y'all? Come on now. Come on now. Y'all can do better than that. I know you can. I know you can. I know you can. All right, let me check something here. And there was some confusion this morning. Eddie was trying to make sure that, yes, ma'am, you're welcome, that everybody understood. We went over a document just to reiterate something when he brought the knife up. There was no knife found in Brian's apartment. There were 3 knives found in the Pennsylvania house, but that was it. And a lot of people are going to get confused over that. So he wanted to verify and clarify something so that people didn't, which is something we try to keep going, is being on the straight and narrow in here. Walking in Tonka, welcome back. Good to see you. Yeah, Heather's in Cleveland, Terry. I told you before that she was close, I thought. There's quite a few of us in here from Ohio, believe it or not. Heather and I are just about as close as you and I are, Terry. Going 2 different directions, but yeah. They have a sheath in a glass case. Right. I got big questions. Miss Charlotte, good to see you. I have big questions about the damn sheets at this point, too. Something I brought up last night. We learned some other shit through that thing, too. And it's weird to me, too. I still have to say this, guys, as we're waiting here for a few minutes to make sure everybody's in here before we hit this document and blow that up. Okay, but the link is pinned in chat if anybody wants to join me up here. Come on up. And like I always say, guys, if you're not a regular up here, just please stop in the backstage for about 30 seconds and show me your face so I can make sure you're going to show your face and not your waist, guys. That's all I care about. Now, if you're a regular, you know the deal. You're good to go. Welcome back to you, Miss Raquel. Good to see you. Hemisphere, welcome back, brother. Obviously, yes, man. I believe that. Well, I have issues with that's what I have issues with, is the sheath and the chain of custody with the sheath and the swab, folks. there's no reason why they couldn't have sent the sheath off to have it tested. They sent a swab. So in turn, in my opinion, what are the odds that DNA came off that sheath? What are the odds? Because like I said before, they sent a swab. They could have swabbed anything. Welcome, Terry.
Welcome. Let's do this. I'm excited.
How are you tonight, my dear?
I am fired up. I gotta tell you.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting because, like I said, somebody's getting a whooping because somebody pissed off Papa Hitler. So, it's about time, in my opinion. I was wondering if it was going to get noticed, talked about, shut down, but they went all in on this document. Hey, LR, good to see you tonight. Number 5. Yes, number 5. That's another issue. We talked about that this morning. Number 5 on the Washington Brian Koberger search warrant for his apartment in Washington.
Hey, Terry.
What's up, buddy? Welcome back.
Dago.
Hey,
good to see you again.
Yes, thank you again for kind of handling the panel and the show earlier when I disappeared. I really appreciate you, bud. I do.
No problem.
Damn internet service is a joke. But anyway, we have, I guess I got so many things going through my head right now. It's insane. As soon as I read that document, I was like, oh my God, we're going live right now. And I was in a meeting with the moderators and it's like, wow. So I don't know if anybody else saw the document. If you haven't, get ready. We're going to go through it and I'm going to read it to you word for word and it will tell its own story and it will explain itself to you. It's quite interesting. And it relates to the whole Dateline thing. Can you do a poll, please? Does trial still start in August? Yes or no? I can. Of course I can. I know you guys like polls. I'm not going to say that out loud. What I almost said, because I'd have been laughed out of here. I know I would have. Yes, no, or I don't know. All right. And the poll is off. There you go. Miss Sherry just said, I told you, or Miss Wisdom, it would happen after watching. Yes, ma'am, you did. Yes, you did. Guy, like I said, guys, for those of you who didn't hear me, they're just popping in. We were going through some videos and doing some research about the case and stuff like that in the mod meeting chat last night. And I said, let's check out this Dateline thing. We've been talking about it in pieces and other people have. So, like I said, the SRB and Alicia made some sense saying, we probably should know. We probably should see it if we're going to talk about it. So good points. And so I figured it out. We watched it and oh boy, what a mess. And we learned some other things in there, whether they're true or not. They were interesting. I'll say that much. But there was talk about this whole Dateline thing being put out and this whole gag order. And then, of course, the Steve Gonsalves World Tour that has been going on. How are all these things being put out and talked about when there's a gag order on the damn case? Well, it's quite interesting. So when we get to this document, folks, like I said, you shall see. Welcome, Tomboy.
Hi.
Hello. How are you?
I'm alright. How you?
You're all right? Good. I'm good. Welcome, Larry McWilliam. Great to see you. Thanks you for joining us. Appreciate you. So, and again, my apologies, guys, from when we were live for the hearing earlier, my internet dropped and I dropped and just left everybody hanging. So my deepest apologies. I really appreciate you all joining us this morning. And I'm making it up to you by coming back in here tonight. So
we'll finish up. Tried to hold down the fort.
You guys did great, and I appreciate it. What's up, Be Real? Good to see you tonight. She's just a devil woman. Cat lover back in the house tonight. Thank you for being here.
Dago, do you know what it would make for an interesting poll question?
Mm-hmm. What's that?
If the question would be, do you think we would know the results of the inquiry into the leak before the trial?
Oh, that is a good question, dude. I don't, but personally,
I don't
I
either.
I would like to know, but I really don't think they'll put that out
Do
there.
you think that's going to affect the trial whatsoever?
Well,
Do you?
what do you think, Eddie?
I have zero confidence in this. What should we call it? What should it be known as? Investigation?
No,
Does that sound right though? Is that what this is going to be?
I think
Yeah.
I'm just gonna call it a shit show.
Yeah, I'm not going to hold my breath or have any expectations. I don't trust it.
I agree. I agree, buddy. I agree. Psyop, Cryptic said, yeah, that's a good way to put it too. This thing is a mess, folks. This is going down. It's going down in history as probably one of the most outlandish, ridiculous, most corrupted shit show ever, as far as a trial case goes in my life that we'll probably ever see. I hope to God that nothing else ever happens like this again. I can promise you that. I hope to God it doesn't happen. Linda Robinson, welcome again. Tonka, if you didn't hear me, welcome. Great to have you back tonight.
Let's just do this rather than a poll. Just put a 1 in the chat if you believe that justice will be served as far as seeking out the source of the leak and holding them accountable.
And if
Put a
you
1
believe,
if you believe that.
yeah, and if you don't,
you believe,
make it a 2. So if you think there'll be justice served on the leak being found and brought to justice, put a 1. If you think nothing will happen, put a 2. It's ye have little faith. Look at that, guys. That's how did I even know? And you knew too. You knew too, Eddie. You knew. Look at that. Miss Teresa, good to see you tonight again. 222. Miss Pebbles, welcome. She's got 3 2s in there.
I believe since he wants to appoint a special prosecutor and a special judge, there may just be consequences for it.
Well, if the judge that's brought in sees everything for what it is, that is a good possibility. I will agree with you.
I get my hair done all the time for work. That's why it looks.
Now, here's another question, guys. While we're still waiting, a few more minutes and 153 peeps, 87 likes, guys. We haven't even broke 100 yet, and there's 100 and a half of you in here. Come on now. Simply Solo, good to see you. Please hit the like button on the way through the door. Let's get that in the algorithm. What'd you say, Terry?
There's a half person in here.
100 and a half people, like 150 is what I meant.
No, I'm teasing you.
That was funny though. I like that. Lady Bob, hello.
Well, there's probably 1 or 2 short people in here.
We got a
I'll
couple.
walk 'em.
Moonlet's put a
Haynes
1
in
down.
here?
Cat Day put a 1. So there's some have faith in this. I can see it. WB put a 1. Hey do. Like your name. Strutter 614. It's been a while. Good to see you. Great song. Come on in, everybody. Pod Ella, hello and welcome. Clifton Mayo, welcome back. You're half the man you used to be. All right. A mistrial could be a consideration with this brief. Guys, I mean, if you didn't read through this document, wait till you hear this shit. This is crazy. Lily Rose, welcome back, dear. Good to see you. All right. Excuse me. 96 likes. We need 4 more, y'all. Come on. You can do it. You can do it. All right. Let me get this up here real quick, you guys. All right.
Hey, Simply.
Yinzal. Is that what Simply said in the chat? Yinzal. I love it when she says that.
Yeah.
Yinzal. It's awesome. All right. Good old documents. We got 2. Actually, I think we got 3. Oh, we did. They dropped the order regarding the May 15th hearing. And okay, so I'll show you that first because it's really not much of anything. But I'll show you anyway, just so you guys see that it was put out. For those of you that don't get to see the documents like that. I try to share them because I know everybody doesn't see them. So this is just real quick. It says the order regarding the May 15th, 2025 hearing, which was today. This is purpose of this order is to explain the reason for the sealed hearing this morning because they had a hearing, pretrial hearing conference, they called it this morning. And then they went to lunch and then they came back and it wasn't televised to us. We didn't get to see it. So it was sealed. It says it's held to inform the parties about the orders to maintain records that the court entered today and to determine whether a sealed hearing was needed at the end of today's open hearing to discuss jury selection questions dated today. It's stupid, you guys. It's nothing. It's basically everything that they talk about. They have hearings about having hearings. So it is what it is. But other than that, oh boy.
But I don't believe it, but whatever.
What? It's sealed hearing thing?
Yeah, the reason for it,
Right, I know.
that's all they discussed.
Yeah, I'm sure there was more. But of course, that's, and I'll say this much. Now, I don't know if it was bullshit or if it was, if it was bullshit just for us to be able to hear him say, but he made it a point this morning to state how important it was for the public and the right that we have to know these things. He made that a point to talk about that today. And I was kind of surprised. And then I thought to myself, maybe he said that just for our own benefit. So who knows? It is what it is. But again, like I said, I watched Dateline last night finally. Again, it was the shit show that everybody has described. There was a lot of misinformation, a lot of garbage. And like I said, a lot of the interviews that were done on that show, you guys, if Brian Christopher Koberger had not been arrested or even accused of this, those interviews would have all been different. Every one of them. The Holly girl would have not said the things she said. The Asian girl would not have. And here's the thing with the Asian girl that was the one that was Brian was kind of in a bit of a little thing with. She refused to do an interview with Dateline with the information they had. So it makes me wonder if any of that was even true. And that's why she refused the interview. The way they described the situation that she was putting out there, because I don't believe it, to be honest with you. I think she liked Brian. Brian wasn't into her as much as she was. That's all there was. So for a guy that's an incel that doesn't like women, that hates women, he seemed pretty interested in women, from what we were told on Dayline, to say the least. Okay, so Jacob says, does Ellie have photo or body cam footage of the police finding the sheath to prove it where it can't? Well, here's the thing. I'm glad you said that, Jacob, because we've talked about this before. We were talking about it this morning. Based on what the PCA, the piece of crap affidavit, that's what that stands for now. What that says, based on what that says now, is that, and they also screwed that up too, stated that Payne found the sheath. No, he didn't. The document we were first given states that he saw the sheath based on being referred to, I think it is, if I can remember correctly, it was either Officer Nunez or Officer Smith's body cam. That's where they saw the sheath. That's how he saw it. That's how he learned about it. He didn't find it. He didn't go in the room. He didn't touch it. He didn't see it. He didn't look underneath Maddie's leg and find it that way. So they lied about that. Okay. But anyway, let me find your question real quick again. The sheath I don't believe the story about the sheets at this point anymore either, because they're claiming that they saw it from the doorway via a body cam laying next to Maddie. That's how the document read. But it was also told to us in the very beginning that the sheet was underneath a comforter and underneath Maddie's thighs. So how the hell did you see it from the doorway if it was laying there? It was under something. A blanket. That's my issue with that, okay? And that's always been my issue. I think we've discussed it, I don't know how many times, Eddie, but that's always been an issue with quite a few of us, to be honest with you. So
Yeah, I think this is right about where we left off this morning with
Wasn't
our
that in the
discussion when you lost internet connection.
it was actually, yeah, we never got to finish conversation. So yeah. Devil Woman said if the sheath was dropped, it should have been covered in DNA. Well, I'm sure it was, but if the sheath was dropped, I'm glad you said it like that, because that's how they tried to say now. Now they're saying that Xana ran upstairs and was chased back downstairs, and that he may have dropped the sheets in the midst of that. If he dropped it, how did it end up underneath one of the victims? I'm sorry, but when you drop something, it doesn't slide up underneath somebody. It hits the ground or the spot where it drops. That's how that works. So yeah, the sheets was covered in different DNA, that they didn't even bother to test all of it. So, okay, Brandy, hold on 1 minute. Let me see something here. Yes, Brandy, it's fine. We haven't changed that yet, but we're going to soon. But yeah, that's fine. Chief, imagine taking the knife in a sheath to go do. Well, we don't even know. Here's the other thing that I want to stress. We don't know, just because there was a damn sheath to a K-bar knife that was found at the crime scene. We don't know that that's the weapon. We'd have no idea. They don't know. So how would we know? And we don't know. So they don't know. Nobody knows, guys, except for the person that used the weapon. I don't, and a K-bar knife is only a 7-inch blade. It's not that big of a knife. Mabbott said in her first testimony to the world that it was a very large knife. A K-bar is not a very large knife. A machete is a very large blade, or something like
Apparently
that.
Hitler knows.
Well, yeah, well, that's a whole different story. So, just saying, when it comes to this knife.
Hitler knows.
And go ahead, Eddie, and express your issues with what Hitler said about the knife, because I know you had some.
So think of it like this. So that order on defendant's motion for Frank's hearing, that is where Judge Hitler says that Detective Payne discovered the knife sheath. And he's
How did
using
Hitler
the Exhibit D-14 from the grand jury transcript to say that. So now that is established, that is ironclad. There is no more what is written in the PCA. That confusion doesn't exist, and that will no longer be something that the defense will be able to question. Does that make sense?
It does.
It's kind of like that interview, that lost interview. There's a telephone interview with Brian Koberger, and the state won't turn it over.
Right.
So there's no way for the defense to even speak about that interview, because that exhibit doesn't exist. And it's just he said, she said at that point. The defense would look ridiculous trying to, stomp their feet in front of the jury saying, yes, they did have a phone call conversation. And the state would said, show, I don't know what they're talking about. Show us that.
Sure. And here's what he's referring to, guys. As I entered the bedroom, I could see two females in the single bed in the room. Both Gonçalves and Mogan were deceased with visible stab wounds. I also later noticed what appeared to be a tan leather knife sheath laying on the bed next to Maddie Mogan's right side. When viewed from the door, the sheath was later processed and had K-bar USMC.
How did they get away?
And the United States Marine Corps' Eagle Globe and anchor on the outside of it. It's how they get away with what? What'd you say, Terry? How did they get away with what?
How does the state, Eddie, how does the state get away with not turning over?
You were broken up a little bit. Could you say
Yeah.
that again, please?
What's up, Willie? I heard how does the state get away with, and then it broke up.
Yeah, me too.
Terry, can you hear us?
Now we can't hear anything from you, Terry.
I don't know if she can hear, if there's a delay or what. Are you there, Terry? I guess not. Welcome, Willie. Good to see you tonight, bro.
See, I think I understood the question, though. How does the state get away with doing this? Like withholding the discovery and destroying evidence.
Agreed.
You know, they're the ones that gathered. They had control of all the evidence. They had their hands on all the evidence, and then they sorted through what the defense was able to see and not see, discard what no eyes should ever see, bury that in the deepest hole so it'll never be discovered, and then turn over just gibberish, anything that's that may suggest that Brian Kohlberger's guilty. Anything exculpatory, of course, has been tossed away. Anything that shows the real perpetrators is long gone.
Right.
And then just mix it all up in a snow globe and toss it over and say, there you go, defend them with this. And how can they do that?
Right.
Well, she's been trying for 2.5 years to, in a right side up world, that can't be done. But here we are, and it's happening.
And every bit, I'm going to tell you now at this point, guys, I absolutely believe that this mess that has been created has been done on purpose. I believe that everything that has happened to flip-flop and flim-flam and turn this inside out, blend it up, mix it up, tear it up, and screw it up has all been done on purpose. Okay?
Yes, I agree.
To completely throw everybody off from smoke and mirrors, folks. I'm going to put it that way. Just take it for that. Smoke and mirrors and nothing but distractions. Absolute. Okay? We're looking at all this when actually we should be looking over here. Okay? That's what I'm trying to say. And they did it on purpose. They absolutely, in my opinion, at this point, did it on purpose. And I would argue that, and I'll stand on that hill, because until they prove me wrong, different. Okay? This is ridiculous. Right here, what we're about to discuss is a whole another version of why. Okay? This here, in my opinion, as long as the Gonçalves World Tour, as I've been calling it, is nothing but purposeful, probable jury tainting, in my opinion. That's all that this turned out to be.
Daigle, real quick, before we move to that, just
yes, sir.
Building on what you just said, because it can't be emphasized enough, because for probably close to 2 years now, maybe 2.5, it is almost universally believed that this, these inept cops, Detective Payne has only 2 years in law enforcement. There was a rush to judgment. The college money drives the economy, and they had to save the town. And tunnel vision, and they dropped the ball. Right? This whole thing is so destructive and harmful. So yeah, I agree with what you said, that this is because again, that is the difference between intentional and unintentional, and this was entirely intentional.
Yes, 100%, sir. I agree.
Can't prove it, but you just have to, if you have reasoning and deduction, you will know that it can only be that.
I mean, it doesn't look. I've tried to see it in another view, Eddie, like in another way, and deny that, but I can't at this point anymore. It's absolutely 100% inept ridiculousness, folks. Absolute. And it was done on purpose. So, welcome, Beckles. And yes, I agree with you wholeheartedly, bud. I do. Welcome, Contessa. Good to see you tonight. Cryptic Conversions. All of you guys, thanks for joining us. Miss Nellie or Nellie M. Good to see you, Miss Nellie. Thank you for joining us. It is great to see you all. And yes, Willie is right. Multiple other DNAs on that sheet, guys. And once again, I'm telling you, this is my opinion alone. I mean, I might not be alone in it, but it is my opinion that I'm stressing it. I feel I don't even believe that the sheets. How can I say this? Ann Taylor made a statement at one point where she said that the sheath was placed there. Okay. I'm going to take that to the full extent of what she said and believe that 100% it was placed there. In my opinion, once again, on purpose. Okay. I don't believe at this point either that the DNA came from the sheath. Why would I? Why should I? Because they told me that? Okay. We know where that lies now, right? Okay. To believe that they took a Q-tip and swabbed the inside snap of that sheath and they put it in a little plastic baggie and sent it off to the lab. Okay. Sure thing. We'll believe that. Right. Anyway, I just don't anymore. And I have no reason to. They have done nothing but lie and twist and turn and mash this mess up like you wouldn't believe. So I have no reason to believe anything that they have told us at this point. Nothing. So, anything to add to that, Bud or Tomboy, before we go?
No, I think we covered it. We'll just continue with where we left off with this document.
Tomboy, anything from you, Miss Ma'am? Did I just put you to sleep with my rant?
You might have put her to sleep.
I might have. Sorry, I just had to say what I had to feel. So, or what I was feeling. I had to say what I had to feel. Can you guys tell I'm hyper? Yeah. All right. So, like I said, shortly thereafter the hearing, one of my mods said, "Hey, there's new documents." Here we go. Document and records hold order. Okay. Now we're gonna. I don't know. This is fairly long, but that's okay. It's worth reading. So, as we all know, Dateline dropped a hit piece, as we call it. Welcome, Unsolved Cases and News. Great to see you tonight. Here she comes. All right. Ultimate Scale RC. Good to see you tonight, too. Oh, yeah. I've been on the coffee. Big time on the coffee. So, welcome back, Miss Terry. Based on the sensitive information not previously publicly circulated that was reported during a recent Dateline TV program related to this case, the terrible night on King Road, Dateline NBC television broadcast, May 9th of 2025. For those of you that didn't see it, you didn't miss anything. I'm sorry. And the defendant, Brian Koberger, it appears likely that someone currently or formerly associated with law enforcement, and here are these key words, folks: law enforcement or the prosecution team, violated this court's non-dissemination order. Such violations not only undermine the rule of law, potentially by persons charged with upholding it, but also significantly impede the ability to seat an impartial jury and will likely substantially increase the cost to be borne by the taxpayers of Latah County. So, as I stated, jury tampering, okay? And will likely substantially increase the cost. I read that already. To prosecute this case by extending the time it will take to seat a jury and potentially requiring a lengthy period of juror sequestration. Accordingly, the court finds it is imperative to attempt to see that the source of such leak is identified and held to account, and that doing so is the best deterrent to future violations. Accordingly, the courts finds it appropriate to exercise its discretion by entering this order.
Let's since it's the end of the paragraph, let's just quickly pause.
Absolutely, go ahead
for a thought.
Welcome, Lisa Vallejo, and Meg P. Welcome back, Meg. Go ahead, bud.
So this is kind of going to kind of disrupt. It's going to substantially increase the cost to be borne by the taxpayers of Latah County, and to prosecute the case. It's going to take. It's going to extend the time to take to see the jury. So it was troublesome. In other words, I wonder how come nothing is mentioned about how you undo the damage to the defendant.
Agreed. That's very true, because it absolutely, that's a great point. Thank you for saying that, because it was absolute slander. If you want to ask me, slander, and as I've been screaming for 3 years almost now, propaganda against the defendant. They slandered his name all over the place. Okay, they don't know that this stuff is true. They don't. Now, some of the stuff was put out that wasn't supposed to, as they stated. There's a leak. So, like he said, how are they going to fix that?
It was a complete smear campaign against Brian Koberger.
Absolutely. That's a better way to put it. Thank you. But yeah, can they fix that? Eddie, Terry, Tomboy, the rest of the class, can they fix that? No.
Yeah.
You can't fix that.
Heard and said. It's been heard and said.
That's right. So now, here's where this is going to be a big problem. We heard about jury selection today. We heard about them being sequestered. We heard all that, right? Well, now the questionnaire for the jury is going to have to now include, did you watch the Dateline episode? What did you think of the Dateline episode? How do you feel about the Dateline episode? Questions in that aspect, which again, if anybody, which I'm going to guess pretty much most of America and then some, watched that show, folks. And guess what? Everybody that watched that show, to an extreme, probably the people that don't think like we do per se, absolutely 101%, absolutely for sure now think this man's guilty. How do you change that?
Well, do you remember when you put up the what do you call those things? Where you say yes or no, or how many people watched the show? How many
the
people?
poll?
The poll. Remember when you put that up the other day?
Yes.
The reason that I asked you to put that up was for something like, I mean, I wanted to get a good clue of who was watching it that actually knows what's going on and following it like we are, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And what was it, like 33% of us didn't or did watch it, and it was like 60 something didn't watch it.
Right.
So guess who's watching it? The people that aren't following it like we are, that don't know anything but what they hear on that show.
I do agree. And I watched it last night, like I said, with my mods. And if I didn't know the things that I know, we said this earlier, SRB and a few of us agreed to this, that if I didn't know what we know about Brian and about this case, I would have looked at this and went, okay, he could be guilty of this. But because we know what we know, we know what we know. Okay. Right. It's a very, very detrimental thing to this case, in my opinion, that was put out, because there's a lot of people, you guys, including people that could be jurors, that are very easily, what's the word I'm trying to think of here?
Manipulation.
Manipulate. That's what this was manipulation, but very easily moved, I guess you could say, into believing things based on things they see on TV.
Yeah.
The news. Okay. Mainstream media. People watch that every day, and that is God's word to them. Period. Influence. Thank you, Moonlight. Good God, I can't think. I'm so hyper. Anyway, so yes. Now, you didn't watch it, did you, Eddie?
No.
I didn't think so. Terry, did you watch it?
No, I didn't.
I said, you didn't miss anything.
Just didn't. I couldn't.
Impressionable. Thank you, Vix. Easily persuaded. All of that. It's all there, guys. Okay, and they will be. So once again, we saw today, I believe they talked about, I explained what voir dire is, where they sit down and they talk to the jurors and they ask them how they feel about the death penalty. That's how they become death qualified for a death penalty case, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But if they watch this, that's going to change their mind in some way. They were manipulated. Okay, by the smear campaign. That, once again, I hate to say this, and I mean this with all due respect because of the loss that was at hand. But that is exactly another true fact, in my opinion, that Steve Gonzalez has been part of. Not to mention this, not to mention all these other, what do you call, guilters. Mostly, okay, probably 99.95% of the MSM that's out there, all part of the smear campaign. None of that can be reversed now. None of it. And I don't care who you are. If you've seen or heard any of this over the past 2.5 years, when you walk into that courtroom and you sit down, as soon as you see that man, guess what happens? It all comes back. So you can say, I won't think that way. Do you believe that that'll happen, Eddie?
I'm not sure. I wasn't paying attention. Sorry. I was looking at chat.
That's okay. Okay, anybody up here, or anybody for that matter, does anybody in here believe that people will be able to forget all of this smear campaign and all this propaganda that has been put out over the past 2.5 years when they walk into that courtroom?
No. And there's,
No.
and here we have where you can't talk about it, right? So
The gag order.
And to me, okay, this is the way I look at it. It's like somebody, everybody has been over the past 2.5 years dropping different types of breadcrumbs. So maybe a little bit of rye breadcrumb, a little bit of wheat, a little bit of white, and then they toss it into a salad, and none of it's right. Some of it might be, who knows, but it's all tossed together, and you're never going to forget what you have heard, but you don't know what's right. And it's been in the gag order. So how can anybody know anything? I mean,
and you know what? You're absolutely right. And you know what else is really sad about that whole thing, Terry? That was all. And again, this is my opinion. I'm sure I'll be agreed with. That was all done on purpose. Every damn bit of it.
Heavens forbid, yes. And I saw Catlip. Yeah, there, and it's not just mainstream media like on your TV and that sort. You got Megyn Kelly. You have Nancy Disgrace. I mean, you have those people are mainstream online, social media. So even if somebody says, "Well, I listen to it. I've been following it." What are they following? They're following still the mainstream media people that are spitting out lies.
Yeah, it's happening here on YouTube. Did you see what Nancy said she'd like to do to Ann Taylor? Anybody?
No, I missed that.
If she had the chance, and this is real professional, by the way. If she had the chance, she'd like to choke Ann Taylor out. If she had that possibility. Are you kidding me?
Wow.
That's real professional, folks. That's something you want to hear from somebody. They don't care anymore. Nobody does. It was a while back. Yeah, Willie's right, but still, that's crazy. Welcome, Donkey. Good to see you. So anyway, anything else as far as where we're at with this, Eddie, that you want to go before we go forward, or you want to put out before we go forward?
Well, maybe just that we haven't even considered how people are influenced by what the majority of other people think. Sometimes people are influenced by their seniors. Juniors are influenced by seniors, and there's always like a
people we look up to.
Yeah, a pecking order within families. So sometimes people don't even get their news from the news. They just go along with what someone they look up to or someone they respect believes. Like maybe a child believes what their parent's going to believe, so on. So it's almost immeasurable. In other words, just taking a poll to see who has watched this doesn't even begin to scratch the surface on the ripple effect of how this influences the masses and what they believe. Because if someone has no interest in this, and all they hear from people that they interact with on a day-to-day basis and look up to and respect their opinion is about this case is that he's guilty, they don't need to waste their time and invest the time it would take to like research it. I mean, after all, let's face it, it would take, this case is volumes. It took us how much, time and research to know what we know.
Yeah.
So the easy way out is just to believe what others believe.
And that's happening a lot now. I think you're right, bud. I truly do.
Do they have like an age? And do they like when they're choosing a jury? Is there like an age? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
They talked about that a little bit today. I don't think it's a specified age.
The
but
reason I ask is
there's different variables.
Because your older people are going to be the people that really sit down, have your cup of coffee, read your newspaper, watch the news at night, that type of people, those type, right? Am I correct? Your
Agreed.
younger generation is going to be more so the people that are up here and listening to this.
Agreed. But well, like Eddie said, the masses, it's everywhere at this point, guys. It's everywhere. No matter where you go, you're going to see this. Some version of it.
You're going to see, yeah, exactly. Right. What you just said. You're going to see it, but what version are you seeing?
That's it right there. And that's the basis of what my statement, I think what Eddie's putting out there too, is that 98% of what's seen is all propaganda. There's nothing that shows, listen, even if Brian Koberger were guilty of this, it's insane the way this has happened. Okay? There's no way in hell this kid's getting a fair trial. Ever. Never. And that, to me, and I think Eddie you might agree with this too. Steve Gonsalves has made a statement, and at this point now, I kind of questioned it, and I sat quietly and I thought about it. Steve said that he was told that there's no way that he'll get off on this. No way. Don't you worry. It's covered. Either direction you look, it's covered. And then I thought about that. That's kind of, it gave me chills to an extent, because that tells me in my mind, possibly, whether if they had every piece of evidence they could have to prove that Brian didn't do this, it's not going to happen, folks. This is done, in my opinion. This is done, and they just got to put it to bed now.
Yeah, of all the things that he said, that might be the one thing that you can go ahead and bank on.
Agreed. See? And it hit you the same way it hit me, obviously, didn't it? I think it hits everybody. I mean, it really stuck for me. I agree with you. That's it, in my opinion. It's done. Now, do we have an appeals court? Sure. But at that point, is it going to matter? Well, we're reading more. Don't worry. We're reading more. I'm just, at this point, we're going to, because it's a long thing, we're going to break it down little by little. So, I think I've seen some other peeps pop in here real quick here. Ray Knightley, Thrive Off Grid. Good to see ya. Thank you for joining us. Landy, London Storm, welcome. Gary King, good to see you tonight. Thank you for joining us. Kelly Dime, welcome back, dear. Again, Donkey Unknown Meyer, welcome. I love these names. Ryan Paquette, I think I said it Paquette. If I didn't, I'm sorry. The Borg, welcome. Tara, of course, Tara. We saw Tara. All right, and again, your favorite uncle. Good to see you, sir. So on we go. Tell us my conspiracy theory. Oh wow, okay. I'm just telling you what I see happening in front of my face. How about you tell us your conspiracy theory? Because that's what all this is, in my opinion. So I appreciate you being here, though. Either way, Cheryl Springfield, welcome. Good to have you today. All right. Is it good to go? What's up, Sarge? And Cheryl Springfield, again, good to see you. Sorry, I thought Deception. There you are. Good to see you. Are we good to move forward, Eddie? Do you think?
Yeah. You want me to read it, or are you good?
It doesn't matter. So you want to read a little bit? You can.
Yeah.
Where are we at?
Here we go. It is hereby ordered that all persons who at any time, past or present, work directly or indirectly by employment, contract, consultation, or otherwise, for or on behalf of any law enforcement or prosecution agency engaged in the investigation or prosecution of persons for the murders that are the subject of the instant case, are hereby prohibited from deleting, discarding, overwriting, destroying, altering, or otherwise making unavailable any, whether electronic or in material form, records, files, documents, metadata, messages, emails, text messages, direct or private messages, phone logs or logs of communications, regardless of whether made or kept on a work-owned or personal account, device, or messaging app, that in any way relate to or document the fact or substance of communications with third persons, including representatives of the media or other persons or entities outside of law enforcement, which communications in any way relate to, refer to, or concern the investigation of Brian Koberger, the facts or allegations uncovered or reported to law enforcement concerning Brian Koberger, or the investigation into the homicides that are the subject of the current or then potential criminal prosecution of Brian Koberger, collectively documents, or singularly a document. Period. That was one long sentence, y'all.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right. Where are we at? Did you read through?
Let's see. Any thoughts on that, real quick?
I don't. Go ahead though.
No.
If you want to hear what you got on it, Terry, Tomboy, anybody. Welcome, Sarge. Good to see you.
It's just, other than it's just interesting that it needs to be pointed out. I mean, just making an observation.
Definitely. They've hit every aspect they possibly can here. I'll say that much. Metadata, messages, emails, text messages, direct or private, phone logs, logs of communicate, anything that any way, shape, or form that this can be communicated, they've touched on it, in my opinion. Welcome, Jelly Bean. Good to see you. So yeah, agreed. Good point.
Okay. All such documents or materials or records that could potentially constitute a document, even if it is uncertain whether such meet that criteria, shall be preserved and must be protected from deletion, alteration, or loss until further order of the court. Any feature on any device or account that is set to automatically delete or overwrite information that could be covered by this order must immediately be disabled.
So they're once again they're pointing out every aspect of this and demanding it's deleted immediately, disabled, shut down, done.
Yeah, so it has a self-destruct feature. You got to disable that feature and preserve it.
Yes. Hold on. Wait, nothing have asked. I'm a native. Oh, okay. Sorry. So Wake Bird, good to see you tonight, bro. It is further ordered that within 7 days, the state shall submit to the court in camera a list of all individuals within law enforcement and prosecuting agencies, past or present, who are known to have had access to any facts related to the investigation of defendant, including but not limited to surveillance videos of suspect vehicle 1, the AT&T records for defendant's cell phone, and the content of defendant's cell phone and other electronic devices and social media accounts, including internet search history, photographs, and information associated with defendant's Amazon account. Now, see, when we were watching this Dateline thing, and everybody else that watched it is asking, I've seen all these questions. How the hell are they getting all this stuff? Sarge asked that question I don't know how many times. Where are they getting this from? Where did that come from? Who's giving this over to them? Well, here we go, folks. Here it is. And it's hard to believe. Welcome, Gen 7. Good to see you, dear. That this happened, but it's really not. All Brian's photographs, they should never have had. And Sarge said they better do something. They should really do something about this. Here it is. So you were right, Sarge. And I'm not going to say as always, but I know you will. I know you will. You know I love you. Anyway, so or any information referenced in the above mentioned Dateline, I'm just going to call it what it is, hit piece regarding this case, the state is further required to provide a copy of this order to all such individuals and document that it has done so. Failure to comply with this order may be a basis for a finding of contempt of court, and such other civil and criminal consequences may be appropriate. Within 7 days, the state must also provide to the court a written plan designed to address and prevent the future unauthorized disclosure of information related to this case and what it has done. 1 second, folks. Sorry, my granddaughter.
Diego, Sarge can hop up. I'm gonna hop down.
Well, there's enough room for all of you, but you can come up, Sarge. The link is pinned in the top of the chat, Sarge. Come on up. Tech Death, what's happening, brother? Good to see you tonight. Yeah, I'm surprised you're not up here already with what we're talking about. So, but yeah, the link's pinned at the top. Just click on it and pop in. Where was I? It has done our purposes to identify any violations of the court's non-dissemination orders previously entered in this case. Oh, you fell out the window, Sarge. Try it again. And those responsible for such violations. Now, okay. Does anybody think that they're actually going to present these people, whoever did it? You think they're going to step forward and say, it was me, sorry, I didn't mean to?
Well, that's the thing. No.
Absolutely not. What are you doing, Sarge? Are you excited? You keep falling. Every go after I go to clip on you, you're gone. Blum should be able to publish whatever the hell he wants after the trial. After the trial, sure. Welcome, Judy Covington. Good to see you tonight. Let's try it one more time, Sarge. So much damning evidence on. It's so funny that you say that. It really is. Anyway, welcome. Third time's a charm.
Yeah, it wasn't me. It wasn't me doing that. I don't know how.
I don't know what's going on. StreamYard's always screwed up anyway.
Listen, though. There's something I need to say before you continue.
Okay.
When am I ever wrong?
I knew.
Continue.
I knew that was going to come out of your mouth. It's all right. It's all right.
I got to do it because everybody expects me to.
That's okay. It's okay. So okay, now that you're up here from what we've read through, what do you think so far?
Well, to be honest with you, I missed all the rest of the hearing because I had business to do.
The hearing was
a minor empire. I run a minor empire over here, and sometimes I have to invest my time.
No, I get it. It was all just basically what Hitler's rules are and what he expects, what he wants. That was it. And then the hearing.
Was there any new revelations? Was there something about? Because I backed up in this and listened to something in the stream where you were talking about the sheep wasn't found where they claim, or something to that effect, or
that was something that was brought out via the Dateline hit piece, and then something that we saw, and it's just that was separate from the hearing. It was just something we've talked about from this and that.
Okay.
But it's still an issue. The chain of custody, the all of it. It's all issue. It's good to see you too, Tech Death. I'll have to catch you. Send me a link or an email and let me know, and I'll hop in there with you.
I think that discussion started. We were talking about no knife found in the apartment.
Right.
And whose apartment?
Brian.
Somebody thought that there was a knife that was found that was in the apartment, and we had to clarify that it didn't come out of his apartment. We showed the
it came out of Pennsylvania, his parents' home. Yeah.
They found 3 knives in the PA house, right? And then the 2, and then the nondescript one, and then we brought up the warrant for Washington for his apartment, and we went through the list of things that were found, and number 5 was something that was commanded for them to go looking for, Sarge. No, hold on. It was let me remember the exact words. It was trace evidence or DNA, and then something else with it. And it was just something that Tomboy pointed out and caught her attention. It was kind of interesting the way it was written. That they went purposely looking for it.
Victim DNA they were looking for.
Of any sort, yeah. Trace
Right. Anything to connect him to any of the people in that house. Could have been Dylan's DNA. It could have been Bethany's. It could have been It could have been the dog hair. It could have yes.
But my issue with that whole thing was, Sarge, is when, and this is why at this point I don't believe that they found the DNA on the sheet. They sent a swab off to Othram in a little plastic baggie. They didn't send the sheet. And we know that they went to his apartment and they were swabbing and.
Do you know why they didn't send the sheath? Eddie should surmise. Why didn't they send the sheath, Eddie?
Well, they didn't want to not have control over the blood, to have anyone but themselves know whose blood that was on the sheet.
No, Be Real got it. There you go.
Brass.
That's the real reason they didn't send it, Eddie. Can
Brass.
you see the chat? Can you see the screen?
Yes.
See, they didn't want the lab to know that they grabbed that DNA from an area that would be that was brass and considered untestable.
That makes sense.
The issue that's really going to come out, I think, is that how can that DNA sample have been viable after an 8-hour delay and after at least another 12 to 18-hour delay to get to a swabbing situation, right?
Yeah.
When no DNA in all of known history can survive on brass at all.
Right.
It just can't. So I think, and I agree with that, would Be Real. That's the main reason they kept control of the sheath.
You think
Now
it's a singular reason, or do you think maybe it was
I think your
multi-purpose?
reason may have something. I think your reason could have something to do with it, but swabbing the blood and sending the swab of blood, I wouldn't see them not doing that.
It could be more than one. I agree.
I think controlling the sheet, though, is controlling the narrative on it coming from the button snap.
Well, and that's that good point, Sarge and Eddie. But here's the question for both of you: in any other case ever, would you imagine that they would ever do a swab, or they'd send the evidence to the lab?
Well, when you're looking at something like that, where it's, I don't know why. I don't know why they went and did all of this. I guess they did it to try to get a hit in CODIS. And that lab only became a consideration because that lab is world renowned or known to have the capacity to identify minute quantities that other labs are incapable of discovering.
Yeah, but remember, they didn't even attempt to run that other DNA through CODIS. Remember that, Sarge?
I know. They sent this. Why they sent the swab? Here's the thing I don't understand. If you sent the swab, how did you run anything through CODIS?
Okay. Okay.
I mean, the DNA is on the swab, is it not, Eddie?
That's what they claimed.
The DNA on the swab?
How could the DNA on the swab become a sample for CODIS and also sent to a lab to be then IgG'd? I mean, doesn't that sample have to be diversified off of the swab? Don't you have to take it, dissolve it, spin it, separate it, and then test it and upload it to CODIS? Why didn't they send the results of that to them instead of the swab? I don't understand. Who did the CODIS test? The police lab or Othram?
Heather said, read it in the transcripts from the closed eye.
But I don't know that you're going to get it. But you understand, if you're telling me that there was no hit in CODIS, then how could you send a swab? Because you can't upload a swab to CODIS.
Well, they would upload. They would
I have
upload
this written down somewhere, and Heather's right. It is from the closed hearing transcript.
Walken said that Walkinian said CODIS is strictly law enforcement.
So listen, and Ann has surrendered this fight, and that to me is a tragedy all by itself.
How did she surrender the fight? What are you talking about?
Well, she's allowed them to now move away from the discussion of IgG and call it a tip.
Right, but she agreed to that, and the state, good and well, the state had to give up something for her to agree to that.
Okay, but that's a major issue. I mean, she's allowing the FBI to keep their sneaky bullcrap out of the public view, right? Because we know that the identification of Kohlberger only came because they went to the databases where the user agreement promises the end user of their privacy, and that police need warrants to get in. It's that kind of database that they got the Kohlberger tree. They didn't get it, and see, here's why they took it from Othram. Othram stuck to the guidelines as outlined in the DOJ. And in the outlines of the DOJ, the GED match and other legally admissible or collectible data and DNA databases is what Othram did, and they did not come to Brian Kohlberger. So the FBI took it, and then they use databases that they're prohibited from without a warrant as per the user agreements that are given to the end user. And it's in those sites that they identified Kohlberger's clan. That's the real messy part here that's being kept secret. And I'm very upset that she agreed to go that way, because to me, that's significant. It doesn't discount that it's Brian's DNA, but there should be a battle as to whether it's admissible or not. When an American uploads to a website that promises security and tells you law enforcement requires a warrant, that then comes under that the expectation of privacy is exactly when government cannot infringe upon that privacy, like your own home. They can't come in they can't just search your car because they pulled you over for a bad tail. So, I think she dropped the ball on that one or surrendered too easily on it.
I think Ann Taylor doesn't do anything without.
That's what I was
knowing
thinking.
why.
Like, there's got to be a reason why she allowed for that. She probably traded that for some other situation, in my opinion, Sarge. You know what I mean?
Like the warrant out of Pullman, it doesn't say look for victims' DNA, victims' trace, victims' touch. It says what are those exact words? Trace evidence including DNA from blood or skin cells or other source, including footprints, fingerprints, or hair.
Which, of course, they're going to say it refers to him, or to whatever. But they're looking for, in my opinion, it gives them the ability to look for both. Okay.
Well, the same examination took place in the car. They're looking for victim connections to the accused in any of their searches. It doesn't matter where they search. They're not looking. They're obviously looking for a murder weapon, but they're also looking for a shoe that would match the print potentially outside of Dylan's door. They're looking for anything that would connect him to the victims. So essentially, they're looking for victim things.
Initially, that's what the document sets it up for. That gives them the ability to go looking. But what I'm saying here is that also gives them the ability to look in other directions too. You know what I mean?
No, I don't. What do you mean?
If they should choose, Sarge, with everything else that's happened, at this point, I don't put it past them for them to swab something of his, send it off, and say they got it off the sheet, and here we are. I'm just saying, at this point, I don't put it past them at all.
Oh no, I don't put it past them that at all. Did they swab the door handle in Moscow where he went in? His apartment?
Or they swabbed his apartment. They could have swabbed anything there.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Correct. Yeah.
So, that's where I'm at with that at that point, and I don't trust any of this anymore now. It solidly, I don't. So, but yeah,
I would just say, I'm going to stick with. They sent the raw data profile.
Yeah.
Not the whole sheath. That's
how they claimed it. Right.
That's the way I understood it.
I get it. Yeah, and that makes sense. But once again, we don't know where it came from. They can tell us where it came from till they turn purple. I don't care.
Sergeant, let me ask you this real quick. If the prosecution believed that there was a chance that the blood on the sheath might be the perpetrator's blood, would they allow that sheath out of their possession and send it to Othram and run the risk of Othram looking into that and documenting that and having files and information?
They have a contract for Othram specifically for this DNA work. So yeah, I mean, Othram wasn't like a curveball. Othram is in their chain of command. So all of that DNA that was collected at that scene, they could have sent to Othram, or they could have let the state lab do it. And what appears like they did both, a combination of both. So I don't know. I think Otham's big uniqueness is that this, and this is why I have a problem with no identification on blood. If they were able to track minute, tiny skin cells below the limit of other labs, how can't you do that with blood? I don't know of a better sample than blood. Or am I wrong?
No, I agree. Blood's probably
Right?
the
So
best. It's
that's the
best.
perplexing part for me that I can't get my head around. So it
Well,
may not pertain to tonight's discussion. I apologize.
maybe I don't understand your answer, but your answer was in part that Othram excels in looking into this minute amount of DNA in there. So, okay, you guys get this, and we're going to keep the sheath with the blood on it, which is a much more quantity of DNA, and we'll look into that ourselves. Is that kind of what you're saying?
I guess. I mean, I don't know because they haven't really outlined exactly how they process these other samples. I mean, we're left to believe they didn't do anything with it. Yeah,
to
that's
the
what I'm saying.
extent. Yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah. I mean, so against your answer is they never did look into that other unknown.
And that would have prevented Othram from looking at it, which then
Right.
consists of what your statement was and why they didn't send the sheet. So, yeah, between the brass and between the blood, they lock that sheet down. Nobody can get to it.
Yeah, they've asked for DNA workups on other people. To the extent that they don't have them, they weren't done. We can't produce something that doesn't exist.
And then they ran fingerprint powder on the sheath, I suppose, right? And now everything is effed.
Can one of the mods slow the chat down a little bit, please?
A conundrum. This whole case is just a sad exercise.
I've never seen anything nor imagined seeing anything like this before in my life. I couldn't imagine how bad this was going to get.
It kind of gets to what me and Dave were speaking about moments ago is deliberate.
Yes.
It was a calculated move to not send off the entire sheath.
Or send off the railing, or send off that section of floor with the footprint, or send the glove or gloves. Today I heard them refer to as gloves.
Agreed.
Well, Sarge, I have a question for you that it's a little bit off base of what we're talking about, but I thought of you when
Was it
Hitler
at night?
found out. I was thinking of you. No, seriously, you remember what you said? You said that Hitler has to stick with whatever the judge before.
Previous courts have ruled and or existing case law where you would go back and show a similar accounting of a case for the rulings of judges and appellate courts and Supreme Courts. And
so how did Hitler get away with saying that he hadn't gone through all the stuff that had been sent from the court before?
Well, that's personally, but he's got law clerks and he's got other people that are involved in his chambers that do all that reading and research and update and tell them what they find. So in other words, he will read a whole bunch of this stuff, no doubt. But a lot of the stuff, if he needs questions answered or referencing a case law, he's not going to be the one to go look it up and dig through it. His clerks will do that, right?
Okay.
What do you call those people that do that?
Well, you didn't watch it, but he says something like that. And like when he said it, I was like, what? How can you not know? But still, I mean, you would have to know some of it, or how can he be, making it? He has to be knowledgeable of it, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, to the extent that he's got to know how the game is played, but he doesn't have to know the strength of the players or each player's skill or which team is better than the other team. So in other words, you can referee a game knowing the rules of the game without really knowing intricately the ins and outs of each of the players and aspects and plays they're running. You can still call strikes and fouls. That's what he's there to do as a judge. He should primarily be there to protect the citizen from government and make sure that the guardrail between the government exists, that they don't overrun the constitutional limit. That's a primary purpose of a judge. Literally, it's to make sure the defendant doesn't get overrun or screwed or lied and cheated by the state. And it doesn't seem that many judges live by that standard anymore. And that's why a lot of people say they seem pro-prosecution. And that it's supposed to be the other way around. Your government is not to get curry favor, or the court is not supposed to favor the government's opinions and desires. It's supposed to go down with limits, and the government's limited, and he's gonna protect the defendant. I mean, that's typically why a lot of my court cases went well, and there's a lot of court cases around the country every day that go well, because judges do that particular type of job. You know, it's specific. I don't know. It's hard to explain. I get lost for words, but it's kind of, you know, the whole system is skewed to the left. There's no center in most of these courts, and that's the tragedy of it all.
Good points. Good points.
Here's another question I have on the sheet is that, so they say that Brian ordered a sharpener, a sheath, and a knife from Amazon, and they found the sheath. They obviously can check the records on Amazon. Can they match? Is there like any type of number or model number or anything on there that they can compare?
No, there's not.
Okay.
Well, no, there's a reference to if the sheath they found is consistent with the sheath that he bought, Amazon would be able to identify it, because the K-bar comes with many different sheaths: an Army sheath, a Marine sheath, a Navy sheath, a plane sheath. So yeah, you can narrow it down fairly well
to that point, but you can't get exact though. That's, I think, what she was asking. Is
there won't be a stamped ID on the sheath. Even I don't think on knives there's any stamped identification other than the description from the manufacturer. You know,
like a serial number to mark each single one of them.
Yeah, they're not marked like a gun. In other words, if that's what you're asking.
Okay, because that would be like, I mean, wow.
Yeah, that would be the answer right there. Agreed.
Right. Well, they did find a sheath, did they not?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But they say that he ordered one, and I wanted to know: can you compare the two? Is there a way, like a number of some sort?
No,
I believe they all have the exact same number on them, if there is one.
But they identified it as the U.S. Marine Corps.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what Brian bought? We don't know.
They said. Well, they didn't clarify that, but
no, they've not clarified that the one he ordered was the United States Marine Corps. But the one
there'd be no way to match it. There is no serial numbers.
Right.
Neither on the sheath or on the knife itself. Like Sarge said, it's not like a firearm.
Not even close. Yep.
That sucks.
So, everything is so circumstantial. There's just no smoking gun here. And that's why like I said, I'm disappointed with Ann giving up the fight over the IGG. I really think that the smoking gun in that may not, in fact, be Brian Koberger's identification, but the smoking gun is the sinister way in which they act behind the backs of the American people. And that will not sit right with all the jurors. I mean, there are people that are very principled that they may end up on a jury. And the fact of the matter is, you went into a database you shouldn't have to identify you got his family tree from, say, 23andMe. I don't know the name of it, but let's just use that as an example. And their user agreement should be protected by the courts, because it does tell the end user that your data will not be turned over to law enforcement without the proper supply of warrants and due process. And so their website should be viewed as your residence. You just can't kick in every door in the street to find a drug dealer. You just can't go into 23andMe and run a sample and verify it against all of their people until you come up with a name. That's essentially what's happened here. And that's why I'm a little disappointed that, and maybe that fight will be made in an appellate court or somewhere else, but I think it should have remained part of this case. And the public should know that their Federal Bureau of Investigations is doing that shit. And your local towns and counties and states are cooperating with the FBI and keeping it secret by pretending they got a tip. So they're playing along with this game of nonsense. And I think the public should be made aware. And this case would have been a great place to do that.
Yeah.
I'll shush.
No, I mean, you're absolutely, I mean, I hate to say it. No, I'm joking, but yeah, you're right.
Right. The only way I don't say that is Eddie. I got to condition Eddie a little bit. Just teasing you, Eddie. Just teasing you, bro.
Well, and I also wondered, after the FBI was put on blast, because they were, Keith did his best, and he even grinned when he did it. Hey, Josie, good to see you, dear. And Deception, welcome. He put the FBI out there and said, hey, they used an unsanctioned database to do this. They even named it Heritage. That's who the FBI used to find this tip, or to process this whole thing. And I wonder if the FBI said something. and push this to happen here too. I'm just curious. Like, hey, what the hell you guys doing? I don't know. I probably not, but just curious.
That's case law that needs to be clarified. When the test for the Fourth Amendment is very simple. An expectation of privacy is the test. And there's various examples. Sitting in your home watching TV behind, I don't care if your doors are taken off of your house, right? In your home, you expect privacy. Government shall not intrude. And so in other instances, like with your medical records, you expect privacy. Government shall not intrude. And when you engage in a transaction that's basically a medical transaction, although not, but still has HIPAA guidelines attached to what you're doing with your DNA, that case really needs to be brought to the Supreme Court, and they need to decide and let the public know that in other words, if they side with the FBI that they can do that, then make that ruling, but make it all known to the publics. And you can almost guarantee that they won't rule that way because the whole thing is they kept it out of the application for probable cause. But on the same instance, they let the court know that it existed, right? Because isn't there a document where the woman says that we would prefer if you were able to authorize or to get probable cause without the use of the DNA, because we're concerned the DNA will be found inadmissible somewhere down the road in a court? So the court knew, the magistrate, the people issuing that warrant knew that DNA existed. Did that influence their decision? And to say that it didn't is almost insane. It had to have. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because what do they have left? Headlights, blurry images, possible phone connection, but no phone connection during the time of the crime. In other words, they had nothing except the DNA. We all know this. And that arrest warrant was issued without use of DNA.
Right.
And so that the whole process here has been, in my opinion, unconstitutionally ran again. Even if the guy committed the crime, I just don't care. Those constitutional rights are limits that government is not supposed to infringe upon, and they did here.
Yes, sir.
And yet no hands were slapped.
Say that again.
I said, and yet no hands were really slapped.
No. I guess this is the hand slap here.
In effect, Ann went along with calling it a tip and ignoring and keeping that out.
Well, like I said, I don't know. I feel like there's a reason. I feel like she's got something up her sleeve, I guess we could say, for lack of better terms. I agree, deception. That's all I think any of us really want to know. That's all we want is the truth. Nothing but the truth, period. That's all that matters to any of us in here, truly, in my opinion, is to know the damn truth. And to make sure that an innocent man does not get put to death for this.
Do we know for sure that
I think we want?
Do we know 100% that a knife was used?
No, we don't. Thank you for saying that again.
So how can Hitler get away with saying, oh, well, we don't have to worry about guns being brought in because it was a knife?
Hitler's getting away with saying a lot of things he shouldn't say because it's been inferred so many times based on this stupid sheath that it's a knife. We don't know that it's a knife, guys, because there's no weapon that's been recovered.
How about the ineptitude of the person in charge of this trial stating that the other DNA could show other perpetrators involved in the crime?
Yep.
And not understand that Brian's DNA could also make the same statement. In other words, the fact that they didn't get into them and test them and review them and identify them, he gave a reasonable understanding of it. But why hasn't that been applied to the understanding towards Brian? It's a double standard of an extreme double standard that he's allowing to be brought into his courtroom.
Yes.
That he voiced himself. That's the ignorance here.
LL, I don't know that that's true about it being from a pawn shop. I think that the K-bar was brought into it only because of the sheath. They automatically that's why I think the sheath was presented. That's why I think the sheath was found. Keep going. Purposely. The more I see this, the more I think that the sheath was put there, found there, whatever, on purpose, so that they had a type of a weapon.
Remember when I said that Ann should have subpoenaed the evidence locker inventory lists
Oh yeah.
of the
I
local
remember.
police departments to see if there was any sheath and knife taken into the
Yes,
possession of the
sir.
police.
You did say
Yep.
that, and they sure should have.
2 years
Because
ago.
here's
Well,
the deal, folks. Do we even know that there is a sheath? Let me ask that question.
no.
We don't. We've never seen a picture of a sheath other than a stock photo. That's
Just
all
like
we've ever
a car.
seen. Right. We don't know. And I'm not trying to be, let's jump down a rabbit hole. At this point, I told you I don't trust anything anymore. Nothing.
Something's my fault in the chat room. If something's my fault, I take claim.
It's
Proudly.
usually is your fault, sir.
Right. Yeah, why not?
It's all right though. We expect that. It's all right, and we accept it. It's no big deal. So that's where I'm at though, guys. At this point I don't even know there is a sheath. Okay, and I know that sounds a little bit out there, but think about it. Okay, like we've never seen one. We've never had it put in pictures in anything. I mean, come on, it's ridiculous. And I know that sounds ridiculous to say that, but honestly, it's really not.
On that, to be fair, somewhere in the court record, I'd like to find it now. There is a
I don't believe
reference
that,
to
yeah.
the timestamp of the body cam, like 12:04 and like 54 seconds or something like that.
Yeah, I think so.
So on the record, it does say that there is an image of a sheath.
But didn't the sheath get recovered under the second pass, or was that just the footprint and other stuff?
No, they said that the first person saw it out, and then
That's just
they
in the
said they
peak.
didn't see it. I don't think they did see it the first time. No, you're right.
Nothing about a pat. There's no numerical.
Hold on,
pat
guys.
per se.
Larry, whatever
No.
nobody in the chat's removing your comments, sir. Or Larry, I don't know what you're saying, but certain things YouTube will remove it before you even let it pop up. Woke up. Good to see you.
Didn't they say
Yeah.
that the second time that they went over the crime scene and they added things that they found on that? I call it a pass, but the second review of the crime, they sent in different investigators, right? A different team or something.
Yeah, they did.
So there was a second go through, Eddie, and then there were even precedingly more go throughs after that. But it was on the second search that they came across items that the first search didn't catch.
Yeah, in fact,
I've never heard of such a thing.
Well, it is
Where
part of this
where
case.
did you get that?
Right from the early on, the beginning, because we're all like,
Didn't
Right
you read
from
it
what?
earlier,
I
Jacob?
didn't hear.
Hold on.
I'm sorry. There's two talking at once.
Oh,
Right
I'm
from
sorry.
where? I'm just saying I've never heard of
in
that.
the very beginning. This information was released.
From where?
It came from the state itself.
What was it? Repeat it
There
again.
were multiple searches of that home. There were multiple times they went through. In one of them, they created 3D images. In one of them, they were cutting up the floors. In one of them, they had people going around.
They never itemized to us what they did in the searches.
Not necessarily. You did have multiple searches take place in the home.
Well,
I think he's just
that's immaterial.
I think
What does that have to do with when they found the sheet? They don't give us a play-by-play, nor have we ever heard any such thing. That's one of those like urban myths, I think, maybe.
I didn't even hear that.
People say stuff and then it just kind of grows a life of its
Eddie,
own.
but I'm pretty content knowing that the sheath was not initially observed.
You mean?
There you go. You read it in the very beginning.
Right. It wasn't initially observed. It was when another people made an inspection of the or searched the scene that they claim they saw, and even the footprint wasn't observed until a second team came through.
He stated later on that's when he saw it. So they did say, I can't remember where it was stated.
There may be some words that are urban myths that may be being spoken by me. I don't intend for it to come.
No. There wasn't a document. It was stated that they did make a second pass, not pass, but
they found it in two different.
Like you now,
right? They saw it in two different places. You read it in the very beginning of the show.
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying. I think that's what he's referring to, Eddie. That's what he meant by that.
That's what it is. Ann Taylor said it was placed after the second walkthrough.
There you
There's
go.
no walkthrough terminology.
What do you mean?
walkthrough.
The
What is
process,
what is
as
it?
they're processing the scene, that's what they mean by that, I think.
Why don't you read what you read at the very beginning again?
I don't have it.
From what the other
About
document
the
with
very right, the PCA.
from the affidavit. Okay, the PCA. Hold on. Sorry.
While you're finding that, Sergeant, if it was brought to your attention and it could be shown to you that it's on the body cam at 12:05, we'll just say 12:05, 5 minutes after noon, then how does that affect your opinion on the first or second?
Nothing. It's another clarification that was just kept from us for quite a while.
Well, would that be the first or the second walkthrough at 12:05? 5 minutes after noon.
That would
Well,
probably be the first,
I think what happened is, if you notice that Payne and others didn't show up until 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock.
and that's what I think it's being referred to right now. The first round was when the first officers got there. Then Payne and Fry get there later in the afternoon. That's what I think he's referring to at that point. Am I wrong?
Yeah,
Go through this bedroom. Read that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's the officer speaking? Oh,
this is written by, this is in the form of Payne. Okay, who says? Actually, let me show you where he meets up with. Hold on up here, and I'll tell you who it was exactly.
Oh yeah, 4 p.m. Okay.
But wait, there's a point where he states that he meets with the other officer.
Yeah, it's down a little bit. Yeah, I saw it already. Yeah.
O.F.
Smith and I entered the King Road residence.
Hold on a minute. Hold on. Let me get 1 second.
Right there. The last sentence of the paragraph, just above you.
Here it is. OFC Smith and I entered the King Road residence through the bottom floor door of the north side of the building. OFC Smith and I then walked upstairs to the second floor. Officer Smith directed me down the hallway to the west bedroom on the second floor, which I later learned was Anna's, through driver's license and other personal belongings, blah, blah, blah. Just before this room, there was a bathroom door, blah, blah, blah. As I approached the room, I could see the body, later identified as Kernoodles, laying on the floor. Kernoodle was deceased with wounds which appeared to have been caused by an edged weapon. Once again, there's no descriptive point there.
Yeah.
Also in the room was a male, later identified as Ethan Chapin. Hereafter, Chapin was also deceased with wounds, later determined, blah, 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 blah. Sharp force injuries. Again, no specified weapon. I then followed Smith upstairs to the third floor of the residence. The third floor consisted of 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. The bedroom on the west side of the floor was later determined to be Kaylee's. Hereafter, Gonzalez's room, I learned from review of, there it is, from Nunez's body camera. There was a dog in the room when Moscow PD officers initially responded. The dog belonged to Gonzalez and her ex-boyfriend, Jack. I found out from my interview with Jack Decor, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so then OFC Smith then pointed out a small bathroom on the east side of the third floor. This bathroom shared a wall with Madison Mogan. Hereafter, Mogan's bedroom, which was situated on the southeast corner. As I entered the bedroom, I could see 2 females in a single bed in the room. Both Gonzalez and Mogan were deceased with visible stab wounds. I also later noticed what appeared to be a tan leather knife sheath laying on the bed next to Mogan's right side. When viewed,
all right, so stop right there for a second. And it's where he states, I also later noticed.
That's what I'm talking about too. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. And so that statement, then some statements made by the defense, is where I was under the impression that there was
later. I mean, that's
there was another observation of the crime scene where he noticed. But there was something the defense filed too about the sheet being placed and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where I came to that. So is that a myth? I don't know. He's saying he also later noticed.
And didn't you say that also it was supposed to have been found under the sheet?
It was supposed to be under the comforter and under the victim.
So how would they have seen it? I mean, I don't know. Are they saying
it was partially under?
That's what everybody's been asking, Terry, is how they saw it. And Tomboy said one said that he saw, and the other one said he was informed. There's the problem. But again, he was told by one person that it was there. The other one said that he saw it himself, and that's the problem. So Well, I guess right here it says the K-Bar USMC located single source male DNA left button snap. As part of the investigation, numerous interviews are conducted. Okay. All right. So is that understood then from this point with this?
Eddie's making a valid point that it could be part of what I'm sharing is urban legend.
Well, it could be because there's been a lot of that put out, but I know what you're saying though, because at some point I seem to remember hearing that they'd made, you call them passes, but multiple like walkthroughs of the scene.
Right.
Mhm.
Because and I don't know where I saw that at some point where they did the initial walkthrough when they started processing, but I for some reason I feel like there was at some point stated that they did another, because it did take them, if I remember right, they claimed 9 days to process this scene fully.
Right. And we do see how the crime scene was first approached by the officers. They secured it. They waited for their higher ups, the detectives, to come, and then they walked the crime scene. They went through it. Then they brought the coroner through and walked her through. And then later, forensic team showed up and did they began a forensic examination of the scene. So there's
And then we
multiple
saw
interactions with different people at different times. And that's why I say, several passes on the crime scene, or several passes were made through that house.
I understood what you I thought I understood what you were saying, right? But then we also saw what they call them, the cowboys and the other guys that come in and out of there with bags and stuff. So they were in and out of that place many a times. But I think initially the problem is that, what was it? Nunez and Officer Smith were the first two, I think, and then Gunderson to show up on scene. And then Payne, Fry, and somebody else, I can't remember, showed up later on that afternoon, 4 to 5 hours later. And that's when they walked him through. But there were things claimed that he saw himself and things that he claimed he saw via a body cam.
Right.
Right. And Eddie, if the body cam picked it up at 12:05, then that's the first discovery of it. And the officer that picked it up on body cam, he may have picked it up, not even aware he picked it up on his cam.
But if he picked
Right?
it
It
up on his
doesn't mean
body
the
cam,
officer saw it.
but if he picked it up on his body cam, it couldn't have been underneath a sheet.
No, partially is what
Comforter,
I think the question was. It was
Comforter.
partially.
Here's what I think
Whatever.
may have happened with that is that they moved her at some point and like
They
to check
can't
her.
move her unless the coroner is there.
That's what I'm talking about, Terry. When she got there, okay. At that point, they probably were checking for, unless somebody else checked for other wounds or something when they shouldn't have, and that's when they saw it. And then they pulled it out, and because at one point they say it's laying next to her on the bed, but the other point says it was underneath her. So how did that happen? You see what I mean?
That's why this is. Ugh.
I think they did move them. Maybe they weren't supposed to, but I think they did, looking possibly for. But that's not going to be stated in here because that's not something you're supposed to do. Are you taking off, Deception? Thank you for joining us. I appreciate you. I hope you have a great night. Hope to see you again. There's little things like that throughout this whole thing that have made everybody go, wait, did they say this or did they say that? Or is this what happened or is that what happened? So yes, I agree. Welcome, Saltilla. Where were we at? Oh, okay. So what the fact that he states though, see, I have to question this too. That he states that I later saw I later saw a knife on that. Like, that bothers me. Like, why didn't you see it when you first got there? When you did your initial walkthrough? What does later mean? I guess that's what my question is. What does later mean?
Does later mean yeah. I mean,
Or later, like the next day?
Highlight what Jen 7 said in your chat.
That is why I'm saying the video of the sheath versus photos of the sheath are yes, bingo. That's the thing. That makes perfect sense, Jen. That's exactly kind of what I think I was referring to be honest with you.
Nicely stated.
Yep. Bingo.
Absolutely.
LR, that's exactly how I understood it as well. Was there any admonishment to the leaks from all of this recent activity with these news agencies?
During the hearing, no.
Mm-mm.
So no mention of these people and their stories on TV destroying Brian Koberger. And where Dateline, that judge should be so interested in how Dateline got information that came directly off of his phone.
That's what this is all about at this point. Now I can take this down and go back to that next document that was put out. Hold on.
But he sure did mention if you don't, I mean, you go get your cup of coffee, you come back, you don't talk to jurors, blah 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 blah. It's like, well, it's already been done, but okay.
Well, yeah. So this other document was dropped. The first one we read was pointed at the prosecution. Okay, this one is pointed at defense, but it doesn't state. Have a good night, Charlotte. Take care, dear. Let me read this again. Let's see if it reads exactly the same. But based on sensitive information not previously publicly circulated, that was reported during a recent Dateline TV program related to this case. I'm not going to read that because we know what it is. And the defendant, Brian Koberger, it appears likely that someone violated this court's non-dissemination order. Such violations not only undermine the rule of law, potentially by persons charged with upholding it, but also significantly impede the ability to seat an impartial jury and will likely substantially increase the cost to try this case by extending the time it will take to seat a jury and potentially requiring a lengthy period of juror sequestration. Importantly, such violations potentially frustrate the ability to ensure both sides receive a fair trial. Accordingly, the court finds it is imperative to attempt to see that the source of such leak is identified and held to account, and that doing so is the best deterrent to future violations. Accordingly, the courts find it appropriate to exercise its discretion by entering this order.
What happened? Did he?
Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, KP for Dateline, and then for Dateline to post images that they state came directly from Brian Koberger's phone, his selfies, and present that to the public as you're looking. This is the killer. This is the criminal. This is the one that did it. This is the scumbag. It's just nonsense, man.
All right, sorry about that. My son popped in here and was asking me a question. Anyway, so it says here.
What is he ordering?
It says it's hereby ordered that all persons who at any time past or present worked directly or indirectly by employment, contract, consultation, or otherwise for or on behalf of the defendant, Brian Koberger, or his defense counsel, or otherwise engaged in the investigation of the murders that are the subject of the instant case on their behalf are hereby prohibited from deleting, discarding, overriding, destroying, altering, or otherwise making unavailable any whether electronic or in material form, records, files, documents, metadata, messages, emails, text messages, direct or private messages, phone logs, or logs of communications, regardless of whether made or kept on a work-owned or personal account, device, or messaging app that in any way relate to or document the fact or substance of communications with third persons, including representatives of the media or other persons or entities outside of law enforcement, which communications in any way relate to, refer to, or concern the investigation or defense of Brian Koberger, the facts or allegations uncovered or reported to law enforcement or defense counsel concerning Brian Koberger, or the investigation into the homicides that are the subject of the current or then potential criminal prosecution of Brian Koberger, collectively documents or singularly a document, all documents or materials or records that could potentially constitute a document, even if it is uncertain whether such meet that criteria, shall be preserved and must be protected from deletion, alteration, or loss until further order of the court. Period. any feature on any device or account that is set to automatically delete or overwrite information that could be covered by this order must be immediately disabled. It is further ordered that within 7 days, the lead defense counsel shall submit to the court in camera a list of all individuals within their team, past or present, who are known to have had access to any facts related to the investigation of the defendant, including but not limited to surveillance videos of suspect vehicle 1, the AT&T records for defendant's cell phone and the content of the defendant's cell phone, and other electronic devices and social media accounts, including internet. Sorry. Oh, shoot. Where'd I go? I was on a roll there. Internet search history, photographs, and information associated with the defendant's Amazon account, or any information referenced in the above mentioned Dateline episode regarding this case. Counsel is further required to provide a copy of this order to all such individuals and document that it has done so. I'm sorry. Failure to comply with this order may be a basis for a finding of contempt of court and such other civil and criminal consequences as may be appropriate. So that reads different. The other one is basically pointing at the prosecution, stating that them or law enforcement did this.
All right, so because you're reading it, and I'm thinking, why is Hipper pounding on the defense? They didn't do it.
No, he's just telling them that they're to protect everything that belongs to them on that side.
But he's also saying that he's also arguing that he brought up Dateline as if Brian Koberger and his team sent that info to Dateline, which makes no sense.
No.
And he's admonishing them and threatening them with contempt. I understand. Now, if they also went after the state, okay.
They did.
Then it's an equal order against both parties. Okay.
Exactly. And that's why
he should be admonishing the state, because there was a hit piece on Brian Koberger. There was data released that you would think only the state would have instant access to.
But you weren't here, Sarge, but the first document I read was all about the state and law enforcement and everybody, and he slammed them. Yes.
All right, good. Sorry.
Yeah, and like I said, I think it's equal order to show, because basically if he were to put out one against the prosecution, it's going to look like he's attacking the prosecution, and I think he's protecting his ass.
Oh, no, it's got to apply to both sides. You can't tell one side you can't release anything without telling the other side you can't either.
Joanne said he did in court. So
all right, good. I'm sorry. I missed the end of the stream, folks, and I didn't catch your first document, so I apologize.
No, it's all right. Like I figured that.
On my behalf. Yeah.
And that's Tonka's got a good point. It's a full internal investigation. So they're trying to make sure that, there's not somebody on the defense side trying to screw up this thing for themselves. I know that sounds dumb, but believe it or not, things happen. Welcome, Tita, Donna, Kane, Randy Burr. What's up, brother? Miss Joanne. Anybody else I don't see, welcome. It's great to have you here. And thank you for joining us. So, but the other one was way more harsh, in my opinion. It was pointed at, and it was, saying, don't you dare do this, per se. And it blamed them for it, per se. Especially law enforcement and somebody, it's pretty clearly stated that somebody from the prosecution
those documents. It's not law enforcement, it's the prosecutor's office that's the danger, the problem here.
Right. Thank you, SRB.
Very much. Right. I mean, they're in possession of the evidence, not the Idaho police.
Well, I think they called law enforcement and prosecution. So
right. But I mean, currently the evidence is in the possession of and under the control of the prosecutors.
Right, but the way that the Dateline thing was explained, that they had this information for a long time. So I'm guessing that they may believe that somebody within law enforcement could be responsible for putting out some.
Oh, that's fair enough. Fair enough. I didn't know that they'd made that argument. Okay.
So it's just my thought on that. I don't know. Eddie, anything with this one? Do you have any thoughts on this one? Or Terry?
I got them pulled up side by side. It's looking like they're very similar.
They are definitely.
I don't see that one was more.
I think that
different, stronger language than the other. It's pretty equal.
There was a part in the beginning of the one for the state, I believe, that states that something about that it is.
I don't think the court will do this, but the court does have the power to get a chain of custody list and then subpoena their phone records and their emails and other communications In other words, the court does have the power to investigate who actually leaked this information and hold them to account.
Well, that's
If
the
he
whole
chooses
point.
to do so. I don't know if that's what he's choosing to do. He should. There's no reason why he shouldn't be doing that. But if 11 people had contact with that phone, all 11 of them should be subject to an investigation with subpoenas to turn over their phone records, their email accounts, blah, 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 work, private, personal, and to see if any of them communicated with Dateline or any of them transmitted any of the images related to what was on Dateline. And someone should be put in jail for that.
So this one here, there was something in this one that caught my attention a little differently. Maybe I just read it wrong then. I don't know. Let me find it here. Hold on. It says right here, based on sensitive information not previously publicly circulated that was reported during a recent Dateline TV program related to this case, blah, blah, blah. Someone currently or formerly associated with law enforcement or the prosecution.
Very good. Yep.
Violated this court's non-dissemination order. Now, what does this say on the defense's one, Eddie? Does it read the same way?
Let's see.
That paragraph
It
is what
says
caught my attention.
it appears likely that someone violated this court's non-dissemination order. So, okay, yeah, I kind of see what you're observing there.
They didn't
pointing
name
out.
anybody in the defense one, but they did in this one by law enforcement and
Right.
prosecution. You see
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yep, I got it.
Okay. That's
And
sorry.
he has the power to investigate that right to the last, apostrophe.
So that right there, that tells me, because it truly wouldn't make any sense for the defense, but he has to make it match, I think, so that it looks like he's being fair and he's telling the whole world, we're looking at both sides, a full investigation. But this clearly states that somebody current, and I like how they put in here, currently or formerly associated with law enforcement or the prosecution team violated this court's non-dissemination order. Such violations not only undermine the rule, blah, blah, blah. We know that. So that points at them right there. Okay. And I was kind of impressed that they threw law enforcement in there too, and saying that currently or formerly associated with. That's interesting, because there have been some people that have left law enforcement that were associated with this at some point. I don't know if that's what he's inferring or if it's just to make sure they're covering all their bases.
Are we
Either way.
talking about Fry?
Huh? Well, there's been multiple people that have left Moscow since this started. Fry left. Captain
The FBI agents are not there anymore doing any of their stuff.
Right, Idaho
There's a
State
giant net of people connected to the prosecution.
right, that have
President
separated.
Yeah.
Fry and the captain, what's his name? They both retired, and then there was also 2 police officers, I think, or maybe 3 that were removed from service. Well, I'm not 100% why, but still, either way, this is directly pointing at law enforcement and prosecution. So that's how it reads a little different to me, and it's kind of interesting. It's kind of important, I think.
But this is just in order for any more of it to happen, right? Or does this order?
No. He wants them to bring forth who and how. That's what he wants.
Okay, all right. That's exactly what I'd hoped he'd do. Okay.
Yeah.
And this is funny because this is exactly what, and this is a completely different topic, but this is exactly what the lawyer in the judge in the General Flynn case was denied the power to do.
Right.
Okay. When the defense requested a dismissal, and then the prosecution joined in that motion to dismiss, it prevented the court from carrying out exactly what this judge wants to do.
Right.
Which is get to the truth of who did what, when, where, why, and how.
Well, here's the question, Sarge. Eddie kind of asked this earlier too, before you got in here. Terry, I don't know. So
sorry if I made you guys go over stuff twice.
That's all right. You came in late. No big deal. It's not a problem. You got to catch up. I get it. Welcome,
But
Medikuye.
it's okay to go over it twice because you catch things.
Yeah, agreed. You never know. Yeah, we could have found something new. But do you think, Sarge, that this will happen?
Well, that's why I would like. I mean, if the court is saying that they're demanding this information from the prosecution, sure. Then
No,
it's
I mean,
not.
do you think they'll present who?
This court is requesting. He's taking investigative steps and demanding material in this investigation.
Right.
Yeah, it's possible that he'll come to a conclusion to who did it, who or how many. It may have been multiple people that did it, right?
You think we'll ever know that?
Yeah, because just like you would see in the Karen Reed case where that other state trooper was kicked off the force and just right. Yeah. This is not an unheard of thing to be done. This is the power of the court. Why you're supposed to, and this isn't protection. This is what I mean by protecting the defendant from government overreach.
Sure.
All right. So he's got a gag order, and these people violated the gag order, and he has every right to investigate and then hold to account the people that did that. Sorry, Eddie.
So you I don't know if you understood his question though. I mean, I know you understood it. The question is do you think justice is going to be served? Do you think that whoever the scoundrels are that did this, they're going to be brought to justice? Do you have faith in that in this case?
No. But I do have faith that if he's ordering the prosecution to move forward with giving names of people connected to the evidence that was released, that he is doing his due diligence. The outcome I can't predict.
That's what I was asking.
The fact that he just didn't. Yeah, the fact that he's not just saying don't do it again, so ordered, and if done, and then in other words, if he'd have just brushed this off and said if any further incidents like this happen, there'll be an investigation. Blah blah blah. That's what I was looking to see if it was. Well, he's saying the complete opposite of that.
And Bobby just made a big statement, which I kind of feel like I believe at this point too, that they'll blame the FBI, and he has no jurisdiction over the FBI, so nothing's going to happen. You know what I mean?
I don't know how accurate that is. The FBI has to adhere to the court's orders on the court's case. The FBI just can't run roughshod over his district court case.
Yeah, but what can they do to the FBI punishment-wise?
Well, what can they do? They can send letters of complaints. They can get involved with the director or the people in charge of enforcing the standards of the FBI. The FBI is being remade now as we speak, just so people realize
that is true. I will say that's true.
And so, yeah, I don't know. Here's the thing. Will he see it? Is he authorizing an investigation, demanding an investigation, and is he going to see it through? That you can't predict, but it appears that that's the direction he wants to take this.
It is. And that's why I said I think the whole thing was.
But I agree with my fellow Americans. These guys talk shit and do nothing.
Right. That's kind of I think where we're all at.
Right.
I'm looking for Agnes's comment. Somebody told me to refer to. Where is it? Let me see. Now here's my other. Go ahead, Eddie. Sorry.
Sergeant, you've heard the expression lip service, and you understand what lip service is.
Yeah. That's what this could be.
It's like is that movie Ocean's 11 where towards the end of the movie he says, "I know a guy."
Yeah.
Right?
Huh. Here we go again.
Well, here's the catch. The catch on this is also an issue that'll create serious appellate challenges. So if he doesn't do what he's supposed to do, like I said before, courts have to follow certain guidelines and certain rules, whether they like it or not. And they have to adhere to certain rulings that are made above them all along the line, right? So it seems to me like Hitler is putting in words or lip service that he wants the data that was leaked, and he wants to.
He's covering his ass per se. Whether or not it comes forth, who knows?
Right. It's just really good show, you know.
Right. You could be 100% right. Could be just Agnes, a really, really good show. If you remember
Agnes has posted a really interesting comment. Says, just FYI, my son at WSU says that the DEA is on campus. Students went home. Why are they in Pullman and Moscow for more undercover for inmates that have been recently released? What is that?
I don't know.
Informants? Again? God forbid something else happens. That's interesting. Thank you, Agnes. Very interesting. What the heck was I gonna say? Yeah, I'm surprised, but kind of impressed that he did put this out, but I do not expect to see anything happen from this. Truly, I don't.
And the key word is imperative to attempt.
Yeah.
That's your lip service right there, Eddie.
Yeah, he did
Right.
what he was supposed to do. He covered his ass, and that's
Mhm.
probably where the line's going to stop right there.
Yes.
You know, and they'll say, "Oh, well, he did what he was supposed to do. He saw it. He noticed it. He called it out." And I'm sorry, we can't make things happen. You know. Now, whether or not they go any further with it, we'll see. Now, if somebody
Can
comes
you-
forth with any information, well,
Can you scroll that document up so we can continue? Just I don't. You've already read it, but just so that I can keep reading through it. All right,
Yeah.
there.
Mayor gets love the last name. One of our sergeants. That's my last name minus one word or one letter. Take the G out. That's my last name, Tita. Interesting. Anyway,
Oh, so look what he's doing. Now I'm telling you, he's taking the correct step.
oh yeah.
So
yeah.
he's demanding that all of these people lock their stuff down. And if they don't lock it down, then they're going to be held to an account. And so that's the first step in an investigation, is to put everybody on notice that all your emails, all your phone conversations, all your texts, your social, everything, you can delete nothing from it at all.
Right.
So it
Everything.
appears, Eddie, that he's taking a proper approach to an investigation. Appears.
So what? Here's my other question for all of you guys. What if it comes forth that at some point a lot of this came from Steve Gonsalves?
He had to get it from somebody.
That's the point I was getting to. Yeah, where did he get it from? And is
We've
there?
been saying that. We've been saying
Right.
that forever. We've been saying, who's feeding Steve this stuff?
And they're feeding him lies.
Well, and that's the thing, is that is this all lies? You know, obviously the stuff that was found on his phone is what was on his phone. Things like that. Whoever, like you were saying the other night, you were going nuts about that. How the hell did they get this? Who said, here's his phone, go through it, look at it? You know what I mean? Steve Gonsalves, Larry. Sorry, not Keith. Somebody probably said Keith Morrison. That was the guy from Dateline. Not to confuse the two. Sorry. Someone tried to sell him Linda Lane, right? Well, see, that's interesting, because it came to my attention that he gave some of the Linda Lane footage himself to somebody else out here. Now, I spoke to that person personally. I'm not going to give any names on that, okay? Because I just won't. That's not my place to do that. But that was something that was talked about when that footage came out. Here's my question, though. What would he gain from that?
Who, Steve?
Yeah. Especially that footage.
I don't know. Sick thrill to see people go nuts over it and spend fucking 10 million hours reviewing it.
I mean,
knowing that it wasn't pertinent.
I don't know. It's kind of wild.
I'm
This whole
surprised
thing-
that they didn't that this came out, these documents came out after the hearing today.
I think they were probably processed before, Terry. They just didn't pop out until after, you know what I mean? Because if you look at the date on this and the time, hold on a minute.
I guess I would have
maybe
thought
you're
that it would have
No,
been
you're
addressed.
right. Look, May 15th at 2:13 p.m. So it was after the hearing.
Did they come
that
back
was
on
probably-
after that?
Now, you know what? Remember when we were speculating this morning, you guys, about what they were doing? Why they were so late to the hearing this morning? They were like 20 minutes, half hour late. I bet you they were in quarters talking about that right there. This whole Dateline thing. And there's a bunch of people speculating if that's why they were late. Maybe that's true. You know, maybe Ann said, hey, my client, they just wiped the floor with my client and completely smeared him all over the planet. You going to do something about that, Judge? You see what I'm saying? Because it was probably 20 minutes, half hour. They were late, guys.
Tita had a question, and I don't know that answer.
Who?
Tita. Yeah.
Tita. Which one? I see. I'm going back here. Miss Martin.
Yeah.
Who asked in the first conference the COPA had asked about it? Wait a minute. Hold on.
I think
Who
the
asked
cops.
in the first conference? Oh, I see. You're speaking. The cops had asked about it and got killed in a car crash.
I don't get what she's asking.
I
don't
do.
know.
She's foreign. She's language barrier here. Who asked in the first conference, meaning the press conference, the cops had asked about it and got killed in a car crash?
What?
I'm not 100% sure, Tita, what you mean, hon. Was there somebody that was killed in a car accident in the beginning of this? She was asking you, I guess. Sorry. Brent, are you talking about Brent Kopaka, Tita? That's not
Well,
what
what
happened
about-
to him. Go ahead.
Are you talking about maybe the lady that Kaylee had noticed and they found her car in the water? But that wouldn't have been a cop. The cop
Or are
had
you talking
asked
about
me.
the car accident that happened in front of Brian's apartment?
Yeah,
I didn't
that
know
too.
anybody was killed there, though.
I didn't
What,
either.
what is she talking about, Kane? I seen you say yup. The fake reporter lady.
What?
What the hell? Where is this coming? She said yes to that. Wait a minute. Crash outside Brian's. Didn't someone for Ann die? Not that I know of. Or it might, unless I missed something. She said no. This is from the channel. Which channel, Tita? I know, WB. That's another one. They're trying to hide people.
Yeah,
People supposed to understand. Satira said, I think somebody may. Well, you're going to make me go look for that. Not right now, but I will. You're okay, Larry. We'll figure it out.
Was there something mentioned about a niece?
A niece? To who?
Yeah. I don't know. People were talking about that in Jules this morning. And Jules is like, I don't remember hearing about that either.
With I can speak, I am getting. You're doing okay, Tita. It's understood. I understand it.
No,
I'm
you're
trying
doing
to.
fine.
I know it's the language barrier is a little rough. I understand.
Oh, you're fine.
Go ahead,
I can't
Kane.
answer.
Go ahead, Kane. Nothing's gonna surprise me at this point. Just there was I knew there was an accident outside of Brian's apartment that night. That was known. I didn't know anybody died in the accident, but I knew that there was an accident. I never followed up with that. Now, Ann's mom did pass away right before the last hearing, if that's what you meant, but I don't think that has anything to do with this. 6 days before the hearing, I think it was, she passed. She buried her mom, she said. Jen said that the mitigation expert for the defense passed away. Really?
Oh,
I don't even remember that.
I don't either.
Do I remember that? Kane said the fake reporter lady's name is the same as a reporter that was killed in a one-car crash during the O.J. Simpson. Oh, wow. What?
What?
Say what?
Are we talking about Destiny Martin?
Destiny Martin. Okay. I have heard that name, but I don't know what. Okay, hold on. So that name, if that's the right name, is that the name, Kane? Destiny Martin? Sweet and Salty said yes. And Nothing's just said she's referring to the lady that was a fake reporter. She allegedly got found out and died in a car accident, but I don't know if it was effects. Okay. Boom.
I thought she was with the Pathfinder.
This was a while back, though. They got a new one in the meantime. Didn't Steve say one time that someone from the grand jury got information from? I'm not sure. Yeah, it wasn't the fake reporter threatened. When did this fake reporter appear? I don't remember this story.
I don't either.
That's hit by a tractor, Salty said.
Hit by a tractor.
Yeah, that's wild.
In this case or the OJ case? Or what?
Like falling overboard on a slow boat to China.
The point that they were making first
yeah.
press conference, Kane said, is it talked about during the first press conference? He's right. I looked at that. Dustin was also there.
Would it have been like a reporter in the crowd?
Press conference. When? Okay. Somebody tell me where to go, and I will go get it right now.
What are we doing? I'm lost. What are we looking for?
I have no idea. That's what I'm trying
Yeah,
to
I'm
figure
lost
out.
too. We really went off the rails. Our train.
She asked a question about a fake reporter that was supposedly killed.
Yeah, I don't know.
She must have been a reporter
wait a minute.
and was
Here we
asking
go.
questions.
May 23rd of 2024, Destiny Martin, 45, of Pullman, was driving an SUV had a head-on collision with a tractor trailer driven by an Ohio man. Oh,
Oh,
of course,
imagine that.
So is that Destiny Martin was the same name as somebody that was killed in the Ohio or the O.J. Simpson case? Yeah, and there was an accident, yes, in front of Brian's unrelated to the fake report. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, court TV. Okay, so fake reporter. I'll look that up at another time. That way we don't get all crazy off track, but I'm definitely interested in it because I've never heard this before. But yeah, of course, SRB, Ohio drivers. Justin was also posing as a reporter. Justin that called Dylan trans. Justin. Oh, that crazy Justin dude. Okay. I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
What happened to him? I haven't heard about him.
I don't know. And I don't
I
care.
don't care either. I just was
don't
curious.
care. It's a mess. You remember him, Sarge, that nutball, that Justin guy that was like flipping out all over the place all the time.
He had he wore headgear or something.
Yeah, he was out there.
The window guy that lick the window licker, short bus rider.
No. He was. I can't think of his actual last name. It doesn't matter. Welcome, Mayhem. Good to see you.
Was he related to Jesse?
No. It just makes no sense. Right. Gotcha. Okay. So on we go. Everyone's family member, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So yeah, I'll be looking into that later to see what I can figure out with that. So, okay. So now we understand, like I said, that the documents are a little different. That based on the first one was pointing at prosecution and law enforcement. The defense one was basically tell them, lock your shit down so that nobody can get into your stuff, period. That's all they were saying to them. Stop it. Always barking. Always. Okay, so that's that. Oh, I remember her. Okay, hold on, you guys. Here's what they're talking. One of them are talking about, at least part of it. 1 second. Yes, I remember this now. Here we go. Thank you, Tomboy. I do remember her. This woman is not a real reporter, mind you. That's, yeah, okay. Hold on.
Well, sure she is. She's a real reporter because we all can be reporters. You don't need a license.
Okay, well, she was not a reporter to be that. She wasn't supposed to be there.
Well,
and she's not with anybody. She claimed to be with somebody. She wasn't. So,
well, independent TV. Maybe she is. I mean, maybe she has her own TV.
No,
it's possible she might have swallowed who she came with.
Independent. No, they did a whole thing on her, but the independent TV is who's showing this. She's not with them, Terry.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, hold on here. Let's see what this was.
Probably asked the best question of all, too, right?
I'm sorry. I'm laughing at Sarge. She swallowed who she came with.
Destiny Martin with the LCSC. Can you lend any insights into the possibility that the weapon is linked to the ROTC program? And also, you mentioned that the analysis unit is here. Will we be able to hear anything from them about a working profile they possibly have? And on that note, have you guys ruled out the possibility that the killer might be a female?
So we look at every avenue. We're looking at every like I said in our first press conference. We're not going to let.
I remember when this first was shown to me that they said that look that he had was because he didn't recognize her as ever being there before, and that's why he was staring at her. And then it came out later on that she was not with who she said she was, and she just appeared in the crowd. So she died.
She got hit by a tractor trailer. Head-on collision with her SUV.
She might be asking for someone else. Okay.
Or she could be. Listen, we're all reporters, folks. It's a free press.
Well, we're considered reporters here with what we do. Yeah. The point is that she lied because she said she was with a specific.
To get in through the doorway. Yeah.
And then she wasn't. So yeah. Asked if the weapon was from the ROTC program. Yeah. And then asked if the killer could have been a female. Those were
good questions.
Those were really good, actually interesting questions in my opinion. So,
And
the
then our
ROTC
teaching
I think the
program-
ROTC program was brought up earlier on in the beginning. Somebody, if I'm wrong. So we wouldn't pay attention. Gotcha. Good point, Tita.
Yeah, I don't know that she was, murdered, but
I don't know. In this town anymore. I don't even know what to think with anything. Truly.
what a horrible way to go.
Yeah, no lie. Larry said she tried to hit the news head on. Oh, Jesus, Larry. Okay.
Jeepers creepers there. Larry.
Amples Park ROTC is like a junior military program. Where like we had it when I was in high school. You can roll on
Like the Hitler Youth. No,
they teach you how to be in the military at a young age, and then once you graduate, you enlist in the military. They already have you lined up, and you go forward with your education in the military.
And they have it in college too.
I think she said she was from the Food Network.
I have no idea. Shut up, Sarge. Anyway,
And we ate that company out of business. And next,
most reporters, the cops let in only ask softball questions. Probably, Tommy.
holy shit.
It's like work study, but they take you in and help you with skills and career. Yeah. Well, here, like in high school, we had the junior ROTC. They teach you like drills and you dress in the uniforms, and they teach you how to do, you polish your shoes and you make your beds, and they do all that kind of stuff. I had a buddy in ROTC.
It's like above Boy Scouts. It's like Eagle Scouts, Boy Scouts, Eagle Scouts, ROTC. Right?
Oh, nothing said boo. It cheapens you, Sarge. Nothing half-assed said that, Sarge.
What cheapens me?
I guess the statement you're making
About the Food Network? Sorry.
He is an ass, folks. Remember, with Asperger's, so he says sometimes that he doesn't.
I got an excuse.
Yeah. Anyway, Candy Girl, good to see you. Drills and everything. Yeah, they did all that stuff. I thought that's who I thought that they said it was that she was with the Argonaut. So
What's an Argonaut?
it's a paper they had there.
Oh.
Are you serious? You never heard of the Argonaut?
No.
You eat too much.
Astronaut. Never heard of an Argonaut. It sounds like another kind of, it's like I don't know, like another kind of nut you eat. I don't know.
Thank you. You're insane, I swear to God.
The Pathfinder, Dago.
The Pathfinder. Okay, there we go. Thank you, Eddie.
What's
It's the WSU paper, Pathfinder. Yes. Okay.
She claimed she was with them?
Yes.
Well, good for her.
And then they come to find out she wasn't, and then whatever all happens.
Well, then why does it say independent reporter above her name?
I don't know.
I'm confused.
I couldn't tell you. Sorry to say. What the hell?
I think we should have a tally of everybody that says, I don't understand. I'm confused. This doesn't make sense.
Do you know how big that tally would be?
Jeez.
Oh, well, it made Reddit. I knew it was going to. Court seeks to identify Dateline source. Doc, you think that's ever going to come out? Truly, I don't think Dateline will. Couldn't they? Here's my question, guys. Sarge, Eddie. Couldn't the courts force Dateline to release their source?
No.
No.
If
it's breaking the law, per se?
No. Freedom of the press, baby.
Even in that aspect, and during a quadruple homicide,
It matters not. If you release the nuclear codes to our weapons,
You do not have to release your.
I mean, you're a reporter,
wow.
and you're able to report news, and your sources can be sources from in the Pentagon, for God's sakes,
right?
and you can't be
Now,
put in jail for that.
Wait a minute. I have
Pardon?
a question about that. Okay. You just said that we're all reporters.
We are. We can all be considered reporters.
So if somebody tells us something, we don't have to tell anybody that.
You could try to make that argument, but you better go to court showing that you've done some reporting to substantiate your claim. You can't suddenly become a reporter tomorrow morning, right? So you'd have to have some groundwork set to make the argument, and then the court will determine whether your argument's legitimate or not. If they can't force a reporter to give up their source.
Well, this is where
they've tried this many times and it never works.
This is where the special prosecutor's coming into play, guys. Think about that. Because the special prosecutor can get the phone records.
Well, he's already ordered them all held, all non-deletion orders and freeze.
Right. So they're bringing this special prosecutor in who is able to get into the phone records to see if they call Dateline's producer, assuming that they can use a smartphone or a
Imagine Ann on the stand. Officer Payne, are you one of the people being investigated for leaking data of this case that was under a gag order?
I don't know.
Are you the person that did it?
I don't recall.
Yeah.
So let me ask you all this question. In this case here now, the Brian Koberger case, has all the evidence been looked into diligently? Has all the evidence been preserved and handled the way evidence should be?
We already know, Eddie, it hasn't, obviously, because they.
Is there a history of destruction of evidence in this case?
Of course there is.
Well, yeah.
So let me ask you this, extrapolate that. Do you think that there's a chance that this investigation is going to produce a fair conclusion?
Of course not.
They're going to handle it like they handled all the samples of DNA.
I don't
There you go.
Here's what I worry about, though. Okay, this is a worry of mine at this point now, especially now. We have 4 months. Whatever goes down with this scenario here, okay. If something does come out, are they going to throw a mistrial? Is it something that's going to throw a mistrial? And if that's the case, that's the worst thing I think that could happen at this point. I think this needs to go to trial, and everything needs to be pulled up from the floor, and everything needs to be seen and heard. But this situation here, in my opinion, looks like it could possibly throw a mistrial, depending on what happens.
That would be good for the defense.
In a sense, yes. But at the same time, it shuts down right there. We're done. There's no answer. Okay? And I think that would be a big deal. I think that would be a big bad problem. Because then in turn, the whole world still thinks Brian did this, mistrial or not. They still think he did this. It was the trial ended because of a screw up. So there's no proof that he didn't do this. What's going to happen at that point? There's still no answer. There's still no truth. There's still no justice. What happens?
Yeah, it's still a win for the prosecution or the state. And it's a great pretense as to why you don't need to look any further into who did it.
Yep.
No matter what, the state is going to come out of this without shedding a tear.
Either way, agreed. I feel the same way.
Please explain what when Ann Taylor said today that Ashley Jennings had handed her a thumb drive. She didn't know if it had been she used the word tainted or if she needed to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it was, but she basically in my opinion, threw Ashley under the bus right there and then because Ashley about jumped out of her. I mean, she was all distraught over in her little corner, her timeout seat.
I might have missed that. I didn't see it, but I don't know what it could be. I don't remember what the topic was when that was brought up. I remember hearing it, but I was doing stuff. So
when I used to be a diligent researcher, stuff like that, it's always nice to write down the time on the stream that it happened.
Yeah, so you can go back.
Where your curiosity is, and even if you don't remember, you write down all these times of things that pique your interest, then you go back afterwards.
Thank you, Wade.
And jump to those sections and cut them out if you want to. Or review
it
them
was
again.
towards the end, right before they went to lunch, and Ashley was, she was on her phone. She was distraught. You could see it in her face. She didn't have to say the defense, or I'm sorry, the state handed me a thumb drive.
It was for the self-authentication proof.
The
state can go through it. Something about self-authentication proof, meaning that Jennings may be the one authenticating it herself.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. That's pretty wild.
I mean, I thought it was pretty important, but I didn't really understand, because I'm not an attorney, I didn't understand it 100%, but I just thought it was odd that she used Ashley Jennings and she had not, instead of saying the state or the prosecution.
Well, if this judge's investigation is fair, it should include an investigation into Steve Gonzalez.
I agree. I
He should
agree.
be on that list, and who he was been in communication with, and the phones. He's probably got burner phone. And probably so does the person that did it.
Well, and they need to look at Howard Bloom.
Yeah,
I
where's he get
agree.
his information? Right.
I think most of that damn hit piece was based out of his damn book. But where did the information come from for his book? That's the problem. Okay.
I think when they said that they got this from Brian Koberger's phone, the media won't tell you who gave them the information from that phone, but that does narrow down the amount of people that have access to that phone.
Right.
Right.
I agree.
Steve should be called. He should be called into
Catholics were not so happy about the image of you. Look.
Yeah, that book was garbage. I'm sorry, it should have never been. Well, just as much as the chapter in Scott Green's book too. None of that
garbage to him. It's coin. It's money. He's a grifter.
Of course, no, I know that. You know that. Yeah, he's a stooge. I like that.
But how was that legal?
I don't understand it. I never have, Terry. I don't understand how that happened. How Scott Green was allowed to produce what he did. I don't get it. There wasn't the trial hadn't even happened. I don't understand how they're allowed to do that. Okay. Hey, JC, good to see you, dear. I probably, maybe I won't. I don't know. People do what they want to do. Yeah, Steve should have been under the gag order the whole time. But they said he wasn't, but his attorney was. What sense does that make? What
sense that makes is that he's not supposed to communicate what he hears or knows with his client.
Well, we all know that didn't happen.
Well, Steve said he talked or had a friend connected to one of the people on the jury, grand jury.
Right? There was that, and don't forget he was supposed to meet with that CI that the FBI said we will lock you up, let it go, leave it alone.
Listen, I think Steve made an error about the date of the Google search, which is true. He's made an error about every piece of information that's been released by him to the public. Every single thing he said has been wrong.
Yep.
And everything he said was a condemning statement to about Brian Koberger, and every single thing he said is inaccurate, a lie, call it whatever you want. Everything. There's not one thing that man has said that's consistent other than the fact his daughter was murdered along with 3 others.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, here's the thing. We heard that he was told to leave that whole informant situation alone, and that if he were to do that he'd get arrested. But it makes me wonder, did he still have that conversation?
Right.
Behind the scenes where nobody knew what was going on? But then again, if this informant is important enough, then I think the prosecution is either intentionally or he's cooperating with them to impugn the defendant. Agreed.
They're on a campaign to convict this kid in public opinion. Therefore, he can't not get anything but a guilty verdict.
Of course. And that's something he said, Sarge. Those were, Eddie, we talked about that earlier, if you remember. Those were his words. And I think they stuck with a few of us where he said, no matter what happens, he was told by reliable source is that no matter what happens, Steve, don't worry about it. He will go down. He will never see the outside again. He'll never have a free day in his life again, no matter what happens, state or federal level, whatever it is, he's going down. Now that told me something. In a sense, no matter what happens, if they were to come out and show that Brian Koberger was in Antarctica when this went down, that doesn't matter. He's still going down for it. And that is what I took from that, the way he stated it. He was very confident when he said that too. So I could be reaching or reading it wrong, but it made me feel that way, truly. That's what's going to happen. No matter what happens, this kid's going down, period. And I told you guys before, I felt that Brian was going to be convicted, Sarge. Remember, you said you didn't think so. I felt that he was going to be convicted, and let's jump in a rabbit hole. I hate to say this, but that he won't, and he'll get convicted, and he'll go to prison, and he'll get the death penalty, and he won't even make it to that, folks. Something's going to happen. That's
it'll get appealed, but I'm still fairly sure that it's a difficult case to prosecute because there's no direct evidence.
I get it. You're right. He shouldn't go to. He should not be convicted, but I still feel like he
He
will.
shouldn't even be in front of a jury. But that it is what it is. I mean, you're dealing with the court system, not the jurors, and you do. You know, the problem with the jury is they see a defendant and they think, well, they wouldn't arrest him if he didn't have something to do with this. So you've got to overcome that.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, people are lazy and they don't like to think. So it really depends on how well Ann prosecutes her defense. And she's really got to get the jurors to understand your decision will put this man to death by firing squad. And that's really the biggest thing that she needs them to remember all the time. Remember that. You know, and even ask that question, Officer Payne, based on the little bit of information you've provided the court and your testimony, which you confirm yes or no, none of it shows Brian Koberger at that house. Yes. Well, would you want your son executed based on that evidence? And then the prosecution will object. And then he'll say to the jury, you have to strike that comment. You can't. But in other words, if she's an aggressive defense attorney, she has every bit of ability to win as the crooked fucking Bill Thompson and his little paddy wagon of criminals.
I can agree. Here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. Think about this, and I've been thinking about this too. If they can get this kid convicted and get him inside, I think that's where it's gonna. I think he's done at that point, Sarge. There's been multiple comments made that he'll be taken care of, he'll be handled. Things like that have been said again and again and again. If they can get him convicted and get him inside that system, I think it's over. That's just my opinion, but I don't think he may go, they may take it to appeal, but I don't think he'll make it there. I think something bad, even if he's in segregation, I think something bad will happen. This is just my opinion.
You know, it's probably 70%, 30% before the trial starts. And Ann's got to come from behind and get it to 51-49.
I agree.
Right?
I agree.
I think she's capable of it. I think the way you interact with a judge is going to be different than how you interact with the jury.
Agreed.
And the judge is only going to be able to call, balls and strike as outlined in the law. But then you look at the court with Karen Reed, and that judge is just a real piece of shit.
Yeah, I know.
That woman shouldn't even be anybody's mother.
Yeah, well, another Judge Gull. No, JC, they haven't even talked on that statement at all. That's been completely avoided. So don't expect it to be brought to the surface either, in my opinion. But I think they're going to go around that as much as they can. End of the line says, I can't take any more, or I can't anymore. It's just too conspicuous and doesn't make any sense. We're all there. I get it. We're all there. That's crazy. I don't know. Anybody, Eddie, do you think with what I just said, do you have any statements or thoughts on what I just said about what I think is going to happen?
Well, I think you're right. I think you're spot on.
I kind of figured. Like I said, I see that going down that way. For whatever reason, you guys, I think they just need to get him inside, and then things will happen, and that'll be the end of it. It'll be over. And anything else that was ever brought about with this, anything else that was ever thought about with this is gone. It'll no longer exist. That'll be the end of it. The case closed. Moving on. And they won't even look at it again.
Well, there's a lot in Brian Koberger's favor. We don't really.
Oh, there is. Sorry, you're right. Now, listen, I want to.
You can't have what has he got? A PhD or whatever in criminology for IT? If one person knows not to keep their phone on them, of all the people in Idaho, he's one of a handful of people that know that unquestionably, because that's what he would look for to commit to find the killer. It makes no fucking sense that this kid could do what they claim he did and went to all of that school to become this killer. And the most rudimentary mistake made was he visited the property 23 times with his phone. Really? It just doesn't add up. There's just nothing that you can't make a surgical or logical argument out of anything they allege.
You're right. I agree with you. And by all means, like Eddie always says, in a right side up world, I would expect that he would get off on this. Okay. In a right side up world. We're upside down here, folks. We are completely upside down here. Like I said, I don't see this I don't see it happening.
But we've had too many years of seeing government is a entity in power separate from the people, and a lot of people seem to like it that way. I mean, remember when we fought away from Britain, there were many Americans that fought on behalf of Britain. Our independence was won, but there was as many Americans that were supporting. Or the same thing with slavery. But by the numbers, there was as many that supported slavery that didn't.
Right.
So we've always had that divide in this nation. It's not new. We think because we live in it today, it's new, and it really isn't. It's been the same battle of different issues all the time. This half against that half, and so you know your jury selection is going to be important. But I think that there's enough exculpatory information in even the state's case for people to be a little concerned about putting this guy in front of a firing squad. That's all you really need to do. You need to get one juror to own that conscious morality.
Right.
Right. Is what they claim to be Brian Kohlberger's car truly Brian Kohlberger's car?
No,
Can
we
you
know
accept their identification? Or are you going to let one sample of DNA amongst 11 or 12 that they didn't test be the guy that you have executed? What about the other DNA sample? Should they be alongside of Mr. Kohlberger? Or are they the actual killers? And as I'm arguing, my client was never there.
I know, Sergeant. Your approach is always that this trial is not going to be scripted theater, but it is.
To some extent, it will be on the prosecution side.
I have a question. Was Brian's phone on while he was supposed to be at the park?
We don't know, and Cy Ray really would be able to tell us that.
Yeah, that's the only way we're going to get that true answer, Terry.
Remember the argument in court about the 2 or 3 cell towers, Eddie? And she brought 3 out, and then Hitler said, "Oh, if you go there, then we're going to have to get to the Franks hearing on that."
Yes.
So their determination, we can assess that their determination is based off 2 cell towers only.
Okay, here's my question. The reason that I ask if we know if the phone was on or off while he was supposedly in the park is because if you recall, Steve said, "Oh, you know, all the different apps that are on a phone were stargazing." Well, if you're going to look at an app, don't you need your phone on?
Yeah.
Yes, an app will connect to the network.
Okay, so what I'm trying to say is Steve said, "Oh, there's all these different apps that you can look at, you know, if he's stargazing."
Right.
So,
Simply said there was no coverage at the park, and I think Twist said that too.
But the also fact is that what they're stating isn't, they're claiming he turned the phone off, but from what I understand, it was that his phone wasn't being used. He wasn't calling or in text or engaging in an app during those 2 hours, which is different than turning the phone off. Do you follow what I'm saying?
no,
Yes.
My phone has been sitting in my house now for 6 hours, and nobody has texted me, and I've called nobody. I've done nothing. It's sitting there. It's not off, but it isn't actively being used. So where's the phone? The last known location of my phone is my home. And by not, if I use it now, it'll know that it was done from my home. And I think that's the situation that Cy Ray is going to present to the court, according to what I understand Twit saying. Twizzlestick. I'm sorry, not Twit.
Yeah. Hey, Alicia. No, I agree with you. I agree with that. Agreed. I don't know. I just, with everything, the way everything has processed, everything's gone down, everything that's happened, I have this very bad feeling about the outcome of this, and that's where I've been kind of stuck for a minute with this. Right. And the more that comes out, the more that it kind of plays that into effect for me. You know what I mean? It makes it make more sense every time. It will just now we have this, so it's just every other day. And like I said, I hope to God that we get to the trial first and foremost, and it stays there. Or not that it stays there, but it happens, and we get the trial, and they show this, that, and everything else at the very least. Maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe he'll get lucky. Maybe everything will come out as it should play out, and maybe he won't be found guilty. I don't know.
Watch any of the Karen Reed testimony when it comes to the cell phones and stuff?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay,
I caught of it.
Their expert had the data that showed House Long to Die in the Cold took place at 2:27 a.m. and 40 seconds.
Right.
His software showed that. Then they upgraded their software and changed that data or deleted that timestamp. And the timestamp from the information now shows it took place at 6:30 something a.m. However, a competitor company that's equally as certified and capable as his company, their software has and always has shown that House Long to Die in Cold took place at 2:40 something a.m. And the witness on the stand that was for the state was kind of put into a box. And I think that's what you're going to see happen here with these other people when it comes to Payne and the FBI guys, that the evidence that they do have, they're not going to be able to make a conclusive statement as to the whereabouts of that vehicle in relation to the house, right? There's conflicting data. And even when you try to unconflict it, you're either going to have to lie like the guy in Karen Reed's doing, okay? But as he's lying, he's telling you his software told him a different earlier time, and he knows a competitive company shows and still shows the earlier time. And so now the jury is left with this information, and the jury's then going to have to decide, because it's a huge deal. And he kept asking the guy, you understand the significance of these time differences, what it means to this case? Of course I do. Because if the thing was made at 2:47 and then the other guy objects and the court says sustained, but he's been driving this phone, understanding what was the phone was actually doing and who did it, and he really put frosting on the cake for that. So that now the jury's handed this, where I don't think he did that so effectively in the first trial. Okay, and I really think the jury now has got that House Long to Die in Cold and in the box of 2 something in the morning before they found the body. That's the key. Okay, before they found the body at 6:30 a.m. So that's really kind of crucial. That if and the jury can't, I don't see how the jury can see it any other way. Right? The state's witness admits that there is that timestamp, that he generated the timestamp with his software, but later deleted the timestamp with updated software that then told him 6:30. That's a problem. You're muted, Dago.
How can I ask how far was the park from where Brian lived?
Oh, I don't know.
Can you?
Not too far. What, like 20-minute drive or something, Dago?
What, the park?
Park from
well. Yeah, I think it was 20-25 minutes, I think. I have to ask Twiz to be sure.
Okay, the reason I'm asking is because, Brian had a hard time sleeping. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So I thought, okay, well, stargazing, it can be almost like a ritual, right? I mean, if it's 25 minutes, and I just pulled up on ChatGPT, and it says tips for using stargazing to help sleep, and it says do it at the same time each night, pair it with deep breathing or a warm drink, avoid phone or bright lights before or after.
Yep.
So, I mean, come on, people. I mean, there's so many you could rebut everything that's said. Well, wait a minute.
There was also a meteor shower that night that was advertised through Wazoo that night.
A major meteor shower. Yeah.
And
between
Brian,
September and December, we're moving through an asteroid belt. A lot of people don't know that. Every year, okay, from September on, for a few months, the Earth is moving through a fucking asteroid field. Period. End of story. That's the most intense asteroid period. And a lot of Americans don't know that. And a lot of, it's geeks that know it, nerds, people like me. Sure. So, for someone to say to a night watcher during that time of the year, it's perfectly fits. It's not.
And that's why, yeah, agreed. Yeah. Oh, it was actually advertised at WSU, and Brian's the guy to go see it, in my opinion. You know what I mean? He's one of them guys that was like, shit, he doesn't have nothing else to do, and I would go look at it myself.
How about the insult that approaches strangers on a hiking trail at night? I mean, this guy's not afraid of people.
No, he's not, and he actually was kind of hitting on other women that he made the one dude jealous that the other guy said, "Shit, I dropped the ball," and Brian stepped in. You know what I mean? So no, none of the things they said about him are true at all. And Willie clarified a long time ago that Brian's not an incel. He liked women. He liked girls. They liked him. You know, that doesn't no. And then they throw this bullshit. Well, he put the hoodie on like Bundy did. Bundy didn't do a hoodie.
Justice, you're
Okay?
right.
His defense didn't.
Didn't he have
say
a nervous system type
No,
of
he
problem?
didn't. Can he what?
I thought, didn't he have like, what was wrong with him?
He's autistic.
Right, but is that
That
affect your
makes
nervous?
you. Yeah, it makes you anxious. It makes you different.
Okay.
Like my son's autistic. He
Okay,
has
so it
all
says
sorts of issues.
right here engages the parasympathetic nervous system. Stargazing is in a quiet, dark environment, activates the body's rest and digest mode, calming the nervous system.
Yeah, and you're living in a part of the country where you don't have that light pollution. It's not nearly as intense as it is.
No,
in,
and out in
urban
Idaho,
areas,
in that area,
like where
Twizzle
I
even-
live, the light pollution is pretty intense.
and Twizzle said that it's wide open, wide open.
It is.
You can see everything out there. It's beautiful. So 100%. Okay. And yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I think the different parts of the country like that will show you can see the night sky in ways you never imagined it appears.
It could be very calming to you know, his autism per se. That's just
Well,
one
no,
reason.
listen, it don't even have to be that. Like I'm so
No.
interested in science and trying to understand the questions that have been out and anyway, and so
Just the
his
experience.
focus is on the stars and space and meteor showers and all. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a field all in of itself. And for people that are on the spectrum, you know, we have particular focuses that each of us, you know, may have an interest in.
Right.
It's not likely that these people are, you know, that people on the spectrum are murderers.
No, and so basically, if you recall, Judge Hippler said something like, "Oh yeah, you went stargazing." That was or something. Remember, it wasn't this past. I think it was It wasn't today, but I think it was the last one. And I want to say to him, so he likes to go stargazing and you don't. So that's a bad thing. I mean, maybe you like steak and he doesn't like steak, but he's not going to look at you and say, "Oh yeah, I bet you went out and had a steak last night and it was pouring down rain. You had to run." You know, I mean, come on, run to the restaurant and it's like he is. If he likes something, then oh well, that's bad. That he made.
Well, I'll tell you something else too.
that.
For people on the spectrum, myself being one of them, I've always focused on things others don't. How many people know how a light bulb is made or how it works, or a toaster, or a microwave oven, or your fucking stove? Those things interest me, but they
That's
also
what we do.
isolate me from people, which is part of being on the spectrum to some extent, some worse than others.
The conversations that we have had,
Yeah.
I will tell you, he's not lying, folks. We've had some
It's-
interesting conversations.
We all have our little twists, our little turns, and how we deal with it and how it affects us.
Yep. Very true.
And
You know,
how
what
many
do you-
times did he drive that route?
Probably quite a few.
23 times.
I would say 23 myself. Yeah, since they've clocked him being within however many 100 meters or whatever the hell it was of the house. Yeah, I'd say 23 times. And guess what? He probably enjoys it. It's probably relaxing.
Probably, yeah, exactly. It was a habit. It was something that's calmed him down.
Because I'm gonna tell you a little story, guys. Because of my ADHD, it's very chronic. Okay, it was worse when I was younger. Even after I got married, I would get up and either get on my bike or get in my car at about midnight, 12:30, when it would, especially in the summertime, because it's nicer out. And when it would cool down, I'd roll the windows down and I would head out. I would go driving or I'd ride my bike. It was relaxing because I couldn't sleep. I was an insomniac for years. Okay, I did it all the time. That didn't make me a murderer. It didn't mean I was weird or crazy or anything else. I used to do it all the time, and I would sleep like a baby when I would come back. I mean, it's very explanatory, folks. It really is.
I go out in a custom car I built that has an immense amount of power, and I'm not constantly getting into the power. But the reason I drive in the same areas all the time, and I meet up with people in these areas, and I do this repetitively. I was going to do it a little while ago. I was going to sign off at around 10, but here's the point. Like you're saying, Dago, You do these different things, and the reason is maybe no reason at all. Like for me, it isolates me from everything.
Yeah.
And it's like a freedom.
It
And
gives
I
you
can think about whatever I want, all my worries. I don't got to worry about work. I don't got to worry about anything. And then if something's irritating me, I could stomp on it and scare myself. My adrenaline starts pumping because the car is so powerful. It is somewhat scary.
It's your you time. I did that all the time.
It's awesome.
You get to unravel. You get to enjoy nature, and he's a hiker. Out, yep, he's a hiker.
I don't use drugs or drink or anything like that. So I've switched my focus to something like that.
I see you, Tita. I see you.
You know what? You just hit on something. I don't know if he was doing drugs or not, but what if he wasn't doing drugs and that was his way of not doing drugs?
I don't think he was doing drugs.
I see what you're saying. That's how he stayed away from drugs. Yeah. Very possible, Terry. Very possible.
And let me just say something else too that I can personally relate to from being an addict and having being on the spectrum of Asperger's is that when you know comfortably that there's other people that are interested in the things that you're also interested in, and you find that particular niche or that particular area of interest and common ground with others, your need to self-destruct goes away naturally. Mm-hmm. So the addiction is generally you feel isolated, you're different than everybody else, you don't understand other people, and then through the process of recovery, you start to shape who you are and become who you are, and you find others that are into crime.
Yep.
So this guy fixated on being a criminologist, and he had a lot of alone time. So do I. Doesn't make me a killer, right? Doesn't make Dago or any of us a killer.
No, guys.
And it's that connection with other people that make you feel a part of something, right? And his family stuck with him. So we had that as well, his dad's interactions with him, his dad being a part of his life. And Brian came out of it. I don't think Brian Koberger was anywhere near doing drugs at that point in his life.
No, he already overcame that. He overcame being overweight. He went to DeSales. He got a PhD. Right. His life was going in a very good direction, folks. So at that
if he
point,
was doing drugs,
I don't think he was. If he was doing drugs,
nobody has ever said he acted like he was doing drugs or he was behaving like he was doing drugs.
Only when he was on heroin and he kicked that.
Right. No, I mean, like in Idaho, all we have heard is he was mean to women, but we never heard anything like that. You would
never heard a woman say. You never heard a woman make that statement.
Never.
No.
Never ever.
No.
And like I said earlier, the interview they got with Holly, the interview that they didn't get with the Asian girl. If Brian was not a suspect and wasn't in custody for this right now, I promise you that Holly's interview would have been completely opposite of what it was. She was interested in him, or she would not have handed him her phone and said, "Put your number in there." And that message that was so weird that we met last night and I enjoy hiking. There was nothing weird about that. I would have made the same type message. Okay, they're doing everything they can do to make this kid look like a monster,
right?
And they want to shove it down our throats so bad that they went to this length for it. And we critical thinkers, which is mostly all of us, saw right through the lines on this, guys. Okay, and knew exactly what it was.
Where's all the propaganda against the Gilgo killer?
They don't need to do that with
him. You don't hear nothing on that case because they've got it they've got it. You know, they've caught the ball and they've got it.
Yeah, right. Agreed.
Yeah, that's the first time when you're being gaslit, you know right away there's something wrong here.
And it's been this way again and again and again. And the other girl,
go ahead.
I was just going to say the other girl, the other Asian girl, I think they took something they knew about her and twisted it, which is why she refused to do the interview with them. Right. I don't believe she said any of that stuff. And there's no way to prove that she did because she refused to talk to him. That tells me that she didn't want to put that out there, okay? I don't think it's true. I don't think it's true at all.
And there's people that just they live on the sensationalism of the gaslighting, and their interest isn't in being right or wrong, truth or justice. It's just and being able to have an opposing view that they can debate people on.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right? Or to get under your skin or they don't want to look at this. I mean, if everything Steve said has been proven to be a lie, well, you don't hear anybody that thinks Koberger guilty even willing to discuss that or accept that. They don't, to them, it doesn't matter.
And they won't.
Big deal. And
the other thing, not only
go ahead.
I was just going to say, not only does Brian, if he were to be found innocent of this and cleared and everything, what a lawsuit. But you know what? Now that Dateline did the hit piece on him, oh boy, what a lawsuit. They destroyed him piece by piece by piece by piece. You can't fix that, like we said in the very beginning of the show. There's nothing they can do to change what they've done to him now. Nothing. It's out there. It's done. All you can do is hope that if he's cleared, it's all found, that he's innocent, everything, that after some time, it'll just go away. But I don't see that happening for a long time.
No, you see it in all kinds of things. I like the current argument. They're mad that Qatar is donating a $400 million jumbo jet to the United States.
Yeah.
And the same people that have a problem with that are just stupid because didn't France give us the Statue of Liberty?
They did.
Didn't we accept the Statue of Liberty from France?
Yep, that's where it came from.
There's other gifts that were given to our nation by other countries, right? And so people just want to be, I don't know. And it's like, how do you say no when they're going to get, it's not giving it to a person, they're giving it to the nation as a gift to America, not that fucking Trump, to America. So how do you say no if you're the representative of America to that jet? It's like you got to be a retard to say no. But you find so many people on the other side of it that won't look at it for what it is, and they want to frame it as some conspiracy and bribing of the orange-haired guy, and they just and it's just senseless because that's got nothing to do with it at all.
Oh yeah, I agree. And yes, an official, yes, I agree. Cat Lever, yeah, that's another good statement. Dateline and Megan Kelly and Miss Disgrace should all get a lawsuit. I agree. I hope he sues them all.
They're free to say what they're saying, though. You can't,
to an extent.
They're reporting the news that's being given to them, right?
To an extent. Many believe in BK's innocence and that BK's case is senseless garbage. Steve Gonsalves said he wouldn't hold back in revealing information. Well, let's see it then. If you have it and it's real, because thus far it hasn't been, put it out.
It has been real. Here's the best thing about the gaslighting, folks, is it's all truth. Brian Koberger did Google those crimes. 3 days later.
Part of it. Yeah, that part. Yeah.
There was blood on a sleeve. It just wasn't Brian's. And it wasn't one of the victims' shirt sleeves. It was the knife sleeve. So that's why I'm so upset with Steve Gonsalves. He's telling you the truth, but he's willingly and openly modifying it to fit the idea that Brian is the sole killer of his child and the other three. So he's rearranging the timeline. He's giving you a truth, though. There was many DNA samples at that crime scene, he told us. Wait, you guys just don't know yet. You just don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And he's correct. There were many, but none of them were Brian's. You see, so what Steve is doing is he's intentionally gaslighting the public.
Yeah.
There's no way around suggesting Steve was getting bad information or a mistake. He knows exactly what he's doing, and I'd like to know why he's doing it.
Well, that's a good point. Why are they so dead set on this one person being guilty? Take care, Terry. Thank you for joining us. But yeah, that's the question. Why does it have to be Brian? It has to be Brian. Tornado warning? Where? Is that what she just said?
Yeah, someone's saying that. Oh shit, tornado warning.
Wait a minute. Let me check my phone.
Terry, and he told us about all these other interactions with women, but he framed in a way that made Brian look like a stalking freaking loser. And yet we find out that there was truth. That's why I try to tell people all the time. You cannot have a lie without a truth, and the lie can't be sent to the public or to you without the truth being in there somewhere. Right? And sometimes it's going to take a while for you to understand what the truth is. So everything Steve Gonsalves has been telling us is true. But his gaslighting and propagandizing and his twisting of the truth to come to a narrative Brian did it is what's effed up here. And that man should be silenced. The court should come out and put an order against him. Because everything he says is absolutely accurate. He got that from somewhere in the investigation. The twist to it is the lie. And he should be silenced by a court order. Yeah, tornadoes, earthquakes, hurricanes. I'm glad I live in a state that only gets snow. Yeah, stay safe from them tornadoes. If you live in a mobile home park, flee. All right, we lost Dago, but Eddie, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, this happened earlier, and I'm getting a lot of static. Is that your experience too, or is it just my phone?
My side's clear.
All right, I'm gonna have to hop out. I think we have to hop out anyway because.
Yeah, I think I got to opt out, so I'm going to go take a rip in the car, wake my neighbors up to hell with them. We got their barking dogs. They deserve.
Well, it's up to you and I to close the show then, because I don't think Dad was able to come back.
Well, Mr. Ed, it's been a.
Oh, there is static. Other people hear static. You don't?
No.
Oh.
Remember, though, I have a mighty powerful computer that I self-built. Not that that matters. Eddie,
well, I'll hop out and.
Yeah, me too.
It might be my phone. I'm not sure. It's.
Man, you got some
it happens a lot when I've been on the stream yard for a long time. So, well, thanks everyone for sticking with us tonight.
Eddie, thanks for talking.
Yeah, you too, sir. We'll talk to you soon.
We'll talk to you.
Okay. Whoa. I don't know what happened. Sorry, guys. I'm back and Sarge and everybody's gone. Okay. I don't know. There's something going on. I'm here. Hold on, you guys. Let me check something real fast here while we're sitting here. I'm going to check the weather. I couldn't even get my TV to come up. So hold on a minute here. Something happened. One second here. Well, thank you, Sarge, Eddie, and Terry for joining me up here tonight. I mean, we were coming to a close anyway, guys, but still, it just dropped me off like nothing. Welcome, Victoria. Good to see you guys. Okay, I don't see it. I heard Terry say something about tornado warning, and I was like, what the hell? She lives right down the road from me, you guys. So it blew through. Shit. Let me see if I can pull it up on my thing real fast here. What, Junie? Hold on, I'll fix it for you. Just a minute. I'll get it. Hold on. I don't see anything, you guys. It doesn't show anything for my area right now, but that doesn't mean it's not coming. These things are dangerous. Miss Bonnie Bailey. Hello, hello. Good to see you, Bonnie. Oh, I guess if it does come here, it's going to be in the middle of the night. I'm in Ohio. Thrive. All right. So that being said, since everybody dropped off here, everything at this point, I mean, like I said, we hit the 3.5 hour mark. I was trying to hold it at 3. There it is, you guys. There's the gist of it all at this point. That's what's going on right now. I don't know. I don't know what to think at this point, you guys. I know one thing that's interesting, and I think we all wondered what was going to happen with the Dateline hit piece. You know, what was going to come out of it. So, you know, that being said, I think I don't expect an answer to what he said in those documents, but I do expect that it's now known, that he knows, that it's seen. Who's about to get it? Me? By the way, did I hit it? Hold on, Junie. Where did the poll go? It's gone. Okay. Oh, yeah, my granddaughter's asking me a question. 1 second, folks, and I'll talk this out here in a second. All right, everybody, sorry. So, again, thank you, Terry, Sarge, Eddie. I appreciate you joining me up here tonight, very much so. Anybody have anything else that we can answer for you? Absolutely, Eddie, you know better, brother. Hopefully, I'll be up here tomorrow morning for the morning show. It is a Friday. It's gonna probably be about it, you guys. It's very interesting stuff. Thank you, bud. And guys, please, I appreciate you all so very much. Anybody that chose to support the channel via donations, whether it be super chat, super stickers, the PayPal, Venmo, or super chat, guys, thank you so very much. Please know how much we appreciate it. It does keep the channel moving. We don't expect you to be here or to do that to be here, but we do expect you to know that we do appreciate you so very much, just for supporting the channel in general. Thank you so much for that. You guys are amazing people. Thank you to my Blue Crew for everything they do. And let's see. I think that's going to do it, guys. So don't forget to love yourselves and love each other. Don't change a thing. You guys are the beautiful people. That's why I'm here. You guys have an amazing night. Good night. God bless. And I will see you soon, folks. Bye-bye, y'all.
Down the shadows, bringing wrongs to right. Digging deep in the data, facts sharp as a knife. With every single story, he's fighting for a life. A voice for the voiceless. He won't stay quiet. Daniel's got the fire igniting the fight. True crime revelation shining through the night. With every victim story, he pulls at the strings. A hero in the darkness, hear the truth he brings. a beacon in a world gone wrong. He guides us through the chaos, a soldier so strong. The clicks and the lights, they follow his lead. With every new case, he plants a new seed. Sharing their stories, giving hope where it fades. Daniel's a warrior through the trials he waits. In a world of silence, he shouts out their names. Daniel's got the fire igniting the fight. True crime revelation shining through the night. With every victim story, he pulls at the strings. A hero in the darkness, hear the truth he brings. From the shadows you rise, streaming loud and clear. True crime revelation shining through the night. With every victim story, he pulls at the strings. A hero in the darkness, hear the truth he brings. From the shadows and lowlands, he won't let us fall. Bringing the truth out, answering the call. For every soul forgotten, he's here to stand tall. Tangle the genuine, he'll always give it his all. Dangle's got the fire igniting the fight. True crime revelation shining through the night. With every